Subscribe please guys, cause it motivates me to post more for you guys. A small request, please consider subscribing the channel. Chronicles of Ino Yamanaka by Artist Off Blue. After a mission gone wrong, Ino begins to go through some serious changings, personality and looks, but what she really can't figure out is her urge to be around Naruto Uzumaki, A&M Kant. This her faint Falcon Hunter. I woke up in my bed, my soft bed. My head hurt for some reason, and so did my arm and thigh. I rubbed my head gently and sat up. I sat there at the side of my bed for a while, just looking around and trying to remember what happened to me. Why was I in so much pain? What did I do yesterday? Oh yeah, now I remembered. Flashback. Michoji and Shikamaru were on a mission to protect this weird woman while she delivered this box to some weird village. We had made it safely to the village, but the hard part was getting back home. We ran into some crazy guys who were after the box, so we had to fight all the while pretending to still have the box. Mind transfer jutsu. I cried going into the mind of the lead guy. Shikamaru had to lay my body near a tree while he counting it to fight. End of flashback. Now I remembered. My body fell into that nasty green lake. I cried out loud. How had I gotten back home? I tried to remember that, but I couldn't. I sighed and stood up. I better wash up and get ready for training. You think I'd get a day off? I stepped into the bathroom and straight into the shower. I almost poured the entire bottle of shampoo on my hair when I realized I could still smell the lake water on it. After I stepped out the shower, I wrapped a towel around my body and walked to the mirror. What I saw made me scream. My hair was black, a dark black, and my eyes were a dark green color. I blinked, then opened my eyes again. Nothing had changed. Father, that water did this. I cried, touching my hair. Are you okay? My mother called. Yeah, I'm fine. I called back. I rushed across the hall and back into my room, slamming the door behind me. What was I gonna do? I couldn't go outside like this, but I had to be there for training. I put my hands in the air. Why me? I said aloud. Shikamaru and Choji are here for you. My mother called from downstairs. I gasped. How late was it? Tell them I'll be down in a minute. I called, throwing on my clothes and pulling my waist-long, now black hair into a bun. I pulled a white hat from my closet and some shades off my dresser. Thankfully it was sunny. I pulled the hat on my head and ran downstairs. Choji and Shikamaru stood at my front door with their backpacks on. Shikamaru raised an eyebrow after taking a glance at me. What a drag, he moaned. What are you wearing? Choji asked, biting into some chips. This is gonna protect me from sunburn, I said, quickly pushing them out of the door before my mom could see me. So what's really with the hat and glasses? Choji asked once we were outside. I sighed. Well, remember yesterday when we were fighting those guys near the lake? I asked. Yeah, the lake you fell into, right? Choji asked, crumbling up his empty bag. Shikamaru carried you the whole way home. He thought it was his fault you fell. I glanced at Shikamaru. He blushed a little and began to walk faster. I rolled my eyes at Choji and smiled. Yeah, that lake. What about it? Shikamaru, who had been silent, spoke up. I removed the hat from my head and took off the glasses. Look what it did to me, I said, letting my hair fall. Choji's mouth dropped open, and he sure did have a big mouth. Shikamaru's eyes got wide. Well, your hair, Choji managed to say. I know it looks horrible, I said. Your eyes, Shikamaru added. There. Go on and say it. I look weird, right? I asked, shrugging. Neither Choji or Shikamaru answered. They just stared at me. I'm gonna talk to Tsunade-sama about some kinda reversal thing for this, I said. Come, let's hurry, I said, walking ahead of Choji and Shikamaru. Questions and training. This is the second chap. This is the second chap. I did make changes to this one. Hope you enjoy. I walked slowly behind Ino. I was still in shock from seeing her hair and eyes. She looked so different. It actually wasn't as bad as she thought it was. In fact, it wasn't bad at all. Ino looks so different, Choji whispered in my ear. I shrugged. SHS, she looks hot, he added a little louder. I had to admit, although not aloud, Choji was very right. Ino did look hot. You guys hurry up, Ino whined. Choji smiled and began to walk faster. I did the same. What's wrong with you? Sun-sama asked as I entered her office. The mission you just sent us on? I asked. Oh well, I got a message from Maru, and she sends her thanks, she said, smiling. But what were you saying about that ridiculous hat? I sighed and removed the hat and shades. Sun-sama stared at me for a while, then finally spoke. What happened? She asked. I fell in that lake, I mumbled. Her eyes widened. You fell into that nasty green, murky, thick ripples. Okay, I said, cutting her off. I get it. Is there some way I can reverse this? She began to laugh. What's so funny? I asked. I just, circa can't believe. She didn't finish her sentence because she was laughing too hard. I clenched my fists behind my back. I'm sorry, she said, calming down. Well, you know there is no reverse for the effects that lake causes. My hair was once black and my eyes were gray, but then I fell into the lake and I've been this way ever since, she said seriously. She looked a bit sad. I stood there, my mouth wide open. Sun-sama busted out laughing. Look at your face, she said, pointing. I was just joking. Seriously, my hair was always this color. You're gonna have to wait for a while for it to wear off. It won't be too long. It wears off? I asked. Yes. How long will it take exactly? I asked. Maybe a few days, weeks, or even a few months. It's not a set time. But hey, you can have the day off today. I sighed and pulled my hat back over my head. Don't look so upset. It's actually not that bad. In fact, it's not bad at all. I turned and walked out of her office. Choji and Shikamaru stood outside waiting for me. Shikamaru had his arms crossed against his chest as he leaned against the wall while Choji sat on the floor eating more chips. Sometimes I wondered where he hid them all. What did she say? Shikamaru asked, standing up straight. It's gonna wear off, I said, not taking time to stop. Instead, I walked outside and began on towards my house. Where are you going? Choji called after me. I didn't answer. I stretched and glanced at the clock on my dresser. It was 5:58 a.m. I was gonna be late. Ino and Choji were supposed to be at class by 6:30 a.m. What a drag, I said, yawning. I rushed to the bathroom, showered, and grabbed breakfast. Choji and me were going to pick up Ino since her house was on the way to class. I began to walk down the street towards Choji's. He would be waiting for me outside on his steps like always. For some reason I was more tired than ever. Well, it was very early. My thoughts wandered to Ino. I wondered how she was doing today. Had the lake water's effect worn off already? I stopped walking as I reached Choji's house. He was sitting on his steps with his head down. He looked asleep. Hey Choji, are you up? I called. He jumped, startled at the sound of my voice. Yeah, I'm up now, he said, rubbing his eyes. Come on, we're kinda late and we still gotta pick up Ino, I said. But Ino didn't say to pick her up today, Choji said, standing up. We can still stop by and see if she's home or if she left yet, I said, shrugging. Choji began to walk beside me. I don't understand why we have to get up so early, he groaned. The walk to Ino's house seemed long and silent. Choji seemed like he was sleepwalking, and I didn't have anything to say. When we stopped in front of Ino's house, neither of us moved to ring the bell. You go? I said to Choji. No, you're the one who suggested we pick her up, Choji replied. I sighed and walked up to the door. Before I could knock, someone opened it. I looked up and there stood Ino. She had on black boots, a black skirt that was just above her knees. The splits in the skirt came up really far, so you could see the red short shorts she had on under. They were laced on the sides with white string that tied. I couldn't tell what she had on for a shirt because she also wore a white sweater with a hoodie. She didn't have the hood over her head though. Instead, her long hair hung in a sideways curly ponytail. I tried to hold back my shock. You guys came to get me? How nice, she said. I was just getting ready to leave. It's way too early, she said, yawning. She began to walk down the steps. I took a few steps backwards, my eyes on her until I was fully off of them. What are you wearing? Choji, who had been sitting on the ground trying to catch some sleep, asked. Oh, this, Ino said, tugging on her skirt and sweater. I had this for a while, I just never wore it, and when I tried it on last night, well, it looks good with the hair, she said, shrugging. But enough about that, let's just hurry to class. Good morning, students, you're just on time, Asuma-sensei said as we walked into the forest. Okay, today we're going to do some real training. Over there I have a line drawn out. You are each going to take turns defending that line. I'm going to stand back and time you to see who can keep it safe the longest. Shikamaru, you're first. Me? I said, scratching my head. Ah, he said, looking up. His eyes lingered on Ino. The lake did all that, huh? He said, smiling. Ino nodded. Okay, change of plans, I want Ino up first. Ino sighed. It's too early or this, she said, stretching and then removing her jacket, revealing a small sleeveless black and white shirt. She tied the sweater around her waist. And for some reason I felt a tingle in my spine. My hand began to shake. I had to grab it to make it stop. God, I hope Ino didn't see me. I didn't want her to ask what was wrong. I didn't even know myself. Everyone in positions, Asuma-sensei called. Me and Choji had to get back about 5 yards from the red line Ino stood at. 1, 2, ready, go. An. This chap was short, I know, but the next will be longer. I know because it's already written. Lol. Also, I forgot this is a Shikaku Ino and Inoxer. Naruto will be coming in after 2 more chaps. Think. Please review. Practice Ino's new jutsu. An. Oh. An. Okay, here's chapter 3. Please enjoy. Ino's pav. This was going to be so hard. I hope I didn't make the worst time. I stood in position and Asuma-sensei counted down from 3. Shikamaru and Choji started to run at me. I made up my mind I was going to do my best. I stood my ground. Shadow possession jutsu. Shikamaru cried loudly. The shadow began to come for me very fast. I hopped away from the direction of the shadow. Then looking up I noticed Choji was getting closer. 30 seconds. Asuma-sensei called loudly. I wanted to make it to Atlas 5 minutes. I could do that cold tie. Shikamaru sent his shadow at me again. I didn't move this time, at least I didn't try to. My hands began to do signs on their own. They finished right before his shadow caught me. I was stuck. Okay, Choji, head for the line. Shikamaru yelled. Shikamaru began to walk towards me, which forced me to walk towards him. Let me go. I grumbled no, there was no use. He had to be a complete idiot to let me go. Shikamaru looked uneasy, but then he quickly lowered his eyes to the ground. 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Asuma-sensei yelled. Why hadn't Choji crossed the line yet? Both me and Shikamaru looked over towards him. He was running in the opposite direction of the line. He was very far away now. Where are you going, Choji? Asuma-sensei yelled after him. I'm almost there. Choji called back. What was he talking about? The line was behind me. Hurry up, you're so close. Shikamaru yelled. I raised an eyebrow. They both thought the line was in the wrong direction. What was going on? Shikamaru's shadow began to pull back. Shoot, he said. 4 minutes. Asuma shouted. Shikamaru shook his head in shock. And Choji stopped running. Wait a minute, while what did you do? He asked. What are you talking about? I said, not letting my guard down. After you did those hand signs, the line was that way. He said, pointing to the direction that Choji had been running. Now since my shadow possession went up, the line changed back over there. He said, pointing behind me. You made some kind of illusion. I didn't see anything. I said. I'm still counting. Asuma yelled. Shikamaru nor Choji moved for a few seconds. Then Shikamaru began doing hand signs. I didn't know exactly what he was doing, my vision was kinda blurry, but I had to stop him. I ran at him, but he just disappeared. Dang, a substitution. I cried while hitting the ground. I turned around and saw that Shikamaru had crossed the line. I stood up and dusted myself off. 9 minutes and 16 seconds. Asuma-sensei said while stopping his watch. That was good, Ino. He said, patting her shoulder. Hey Ino, what type of jutsu was that? Choji asked as he walked towards us. I don't know, I didn't do it. I replied, shaking my head. I was sweating. What are you kids talking about? Asuma asked. That illusion jutsu Ino did while I had her in shadow possession. Shikamaru said. I didn't see any illusion, I just saw Choji running towards the red line and then. Wait, how did, and that was a jutsu I've never seen before. Asuma said. I didn't do anything. I said innocently. Choji scratched his head. And Shikamaru stared at me. I sighed, why weren't they believing me? I hadn't done anything. I don't know any new jutsus. Come here. Asuma said, motioning for me to follow him. I followed him slowly. I sat on the ground while Asuma-sensei and Ino talked beside a near tree. I couldn't make out what they were saying. But I could see Ino nod every once in a while. I yawned. The sun was coming up. It shined brightly on my face. I was tired now, all I wanted to do was find a shady tree and sleep, but I still had to have my turn defending the line. I let out a deep breath and lowered myself onto my back with my arms crossed beneath my head. Ino was sure having a long talk. I couldn't stop thinking about what she did. That jutsu was incredible. Though the line was the other way, it was like it manipulated me because I knew that the line was behind Ino. But once she did the jutsu and the line looked like it was behind me, I didn't think twice. Did this have something to do with the changes the lake made? Ino began to walk back towards me, and Choji, who was sitting beside me. I sat up. Ino blew a piece of her black hair out of her face. Sweat dripped down her face and chest, and I couldn't help but stare. I never looked at her like that. I knew I had to look away, but stupid me decided to lower my eyes to the ground. Before they made it there, but not before scanning down Ino's waist, which was also dripping in sweat. Shikamaru. She said. She sounded out of breath. I jumped. I hopped. She didn't notice me staring. It's your turn, she said, stepping back. I'm exhausted. Ino cried. Choji lay on the ground. He had just had his turn defending the line. He lasted 2 minutes. I had gone before him and lasted 4 minutes and 48 seconds. Ino had beat me. I wasn't too proud of that. I took a sip of water from my bottle. Water? Ino cried. Can I have a sip? I left mine's at home. She pleaded, putting her hands taut and bending down. Yeah. I said, slowly holding it out to her. She took it from my hands and stood up. She put the bottle to her mouth and began to drink. My heart began to beat fast. She looked so hot. What I would give to be that bottle for just a second. Wait, what am I thinking? I turned away from Ino. Here, she said, holding out my bottle. I took it from her hands. Our hands brushed. I shivered. The kids are dismissed, Asuma said. Choji stood up. I'm going home and eating late breakfast, snack and lunch, then I'm taking a long nap, he said, stretching. Ino smiled. I'm taking a long shower and then I'm going to. Ino paused. Then she reached out her hand and touched my cheek. You're bleeding, she said softly. I had forgotten I had even been cut. Earlier Ino had threw a shuriken that scraped my cheek. It wasn't really bad, but it did kinda sting. It's nothing, I said, blushing a bit. I've gotten worse. Not from me, she said. Ino wiped my cheek gently. She put her arm on my shoulder, then brought her face to mine, and licked my cheek and spat the blood on the ground. Afterwards she dug in her sweater pocket and pulled out a band-aid. There, she said, putting on my cheek and smiling. "Ah, thanks," I said. "No problem," she replied, walking away towards home. "See you guys later," she said, waving without looking back. Choji sat up and glanced at me, then back at Ino. I shrugged as Asuma-sensei and Choji watched her leave. "There's definitely something different about her," Asuma-sensei said, shaking his head. "Yeah," I said under my breath. I began to walk to my house alone. Shikamaru and Choji still stood behind me. I didn't feel like waiting too much. I started to think about practice. When my hands did those signs, it wasted me, but I had to admit it was cool. I rubbed my shoulder, which was sore from trying to push past Choji when he had his turn guarding the line. It had already hurt from when Shikamaru was guarding the line and I ended up falling on him. I sighed. Shikamaru and Choji were sure acting weird. I heard footsteps. Looking up, I saw Sasuke and Naruto. Sasuke had his hands in his pockets and his eyes closed. He looked annoyed. Naruto was right behind him. "Sasuke, come on, it'll be fun," Naruto whined. "Like I said, no," Sasuke replied. "Why not?" Naruto cried. "You're getting more annoying than Sakura. I told you before." Before Sasuke could finish his sentence, Naruto and myself collided. Naruto and Sasuke still stood while I fell to the ground. "You okay?" Naruto asked, bending down and looking me in the face. I nodded. "Hey, I've seen you before," Naruto cried. "Yeah, duh, it's me, Ino," I said, reaching out my hand. Naruto pulled me up. "Ino?" Him and Sasuke said at the same time. Your hair," Naruto stuttered. "And what are you wearing? What happened to you?" I dusted myself off. "The mission we went on didn't go so well for me, okay," I said, rolling my eyes. "Oh, what happened?" Naruto asked. "He was so dense. Any other guy would have left it at that. Well, I fell into the lake and well, what?" "I'm listening," Naruto asked. He looked really interested. I pointed to my hair and eyes. "This," I said impatiently. "Oh, I get it," Naruto said. I glanced at Sasuke. Apparently he had been staring since I had announced my name. "I gotta go," I said. I was starting to feel weird. It made me scared that I didn't even try to talk to Sasuke. I didn't even want to try. "When will you be back to normal?" Naruto asked. "I don't know, soon, I hope," I said. "I really have to go though." I began to walk on towards my house. I hadn't said a word to Sasuke. As I walked past Naruto, our arms brushed. "Naruto is powerful, very strong, I want him." Oh no, what was I thinking? This is for this chap. Please see REVIEW reviews will make the next chap come faster, since it's already written. That last scene with Naruto was originally in the next chap, but I added it to this one, since I couldn't wait to add his part. There will be more of him in the next chap. Okay, I'm tired of talking. School, dinner, wishes, and stars. Thank you for your reviews, Thank you for your reviews. Here's the next chap. Enjoy. I took a sip of tea. My mother said it was supposed to help my temperature stay normal. I had been switching from hot to extremely cold to hot again all day. She had freaked out when she saw my hair and eyes, but then she got used to it. Well, at least she pretended to. I was now sitting on my porch steps drinking my tea. The sun had just set, and the air was cool against my face. I was dressed for bed in white and black t-shirt that said Ino in the front and matching pants that said Ultimate Ninja. My hair was down and damp. I had just took my third shower today. It was so quiet and peaceful. I like this time of night. I tilted my head back and let out a deep relieving breath. "Come back here." I heard a familiar voice yell. "Naruto." I groaned under my breath. I sat up straight to see what was going on. Naruto was chasing a squirrel who had his headband. I smiled. Naruto was so clumsy. No one ever found themselves in the strange and funny situations he seemed to be prone to. I began to stare, and unconsciously my hands began to make signs. I recognized them from earlier practice. All of a sudden the squirrel dropped the headband and began running really fast towards a tree. That was weird. Naruto turned my way and began to run towards me. What was he doing? "There, gotcha," he said, reaching out his hand. It landed on my chest. I sat there for a while, unable to believe what was happening. Naruto was touching my breast. "Get off of me," I cried, pushing him back as I gained common sense. My tea spilling on his arm. "Ow," Naruto cried. Then he glanced at me. "Ino," he said, blushing. "You pervert," I said, crossing my arms. "I didn't mean it, Isfir. I thought you were well at the time. All I saw was my headband." "Yuli," I began before pausing. "I swear," Naruto said again. "Wait, you said you saw your headband?" I asked. "Yes," Naruto said, shaking his head. "I swear that's what I saw. I would never." "I believe you," I said slowly. "Huh? You do?" Naruto asked, surprised. "Why? I shouldn't," I asked, raising an eyebrow. No, that's not it. I just thought Naruto's voice trailed off as his eyes lowered to the ground. I noticed Naruto was still holding his arm. Oh, stay right there, let me get you something for your arm. I'm so sorry, I said, rushing into my house. I grabbed a leaf off my mom's plant she used whenever I got burned. Then I grabbed a bandage and ran back outside. Naruto was sitting on my steps looking at his arm. Give me your arm, I said to him. Naruto stretched out his arm and I put the leaf against the burn. This should stop the pain, I said, pressing down. Ah, thanks, Naruto said, smiling. There was silence. It wasn't exactly an uncomfortable silence. I wasn't uncomfortable at all. In fact, I was very comfortable holding Naruto's arm in my hands. I had never realized how strong he was or how soft his skin felt. Had I even ever touched him? Why did I care? Why are you being so nice to me? Naruto asked, breaking the silence. I just burned you and pushed you, is that nice? I asked while wrapping the bandage around his arm. He shrugged. Well, I just touched her. Okay, I'm being nice, I interrupted. I knew my face must have been betrayed. Okay, all done, I said once I finished wrapping his arm. Hey, it doesn't hurt anymore, Naruto said, making a fist. I smiled. A luri plant, I said. It works wonders. I gotta get one of those, Naruto said, smiling. I gotta go to bed, I said. School's tomorrow, I added, standing up. It's not even late, Naruto said. I'm tired though, I stretched. I'll see you tomorrow, I guess, I said, heading for my door. Naruto shrugged again. I guess. I turned the knob and was about to open the door when Naruto spoke. Thanks. I paused and smiled. You're welcome. Shikamaru, wake up, I whispered in his ear. It was almost the end of class, which he had slept the most of. Shikamaru raised his head, stretched and glanced around, then plopped his head back on his desk. I sighed. There was no use. Okay everyone, before I dismiss you, I want to remind you all of the festival fundraiser, Iruka-sensei said. It is mandatory for all of you. He continued. Naruto raised his hand. Yes, Naruto, each and every one of you, Iruka-sensei said. Naruto lowered his hand. I smiled to myself. So please bring your parents, family and friends, Iruka-sensei went on to say. I didn't hear most of what Iruka-sensei said after that. I was too busy staring at Naruto. I felt sorry for him. He had no parents to tell about the festival. I couldn't imagine not having my parents. Naruto sure was tough. Okay, you're all dismissed, Iruka-sensei said. I tapped Shikamaru one last time. School's out, I said while I bent down to pick up my backpack. What a drag, just when I was getting some real sleep. I smiled. Hey Ino, Sakura called to me. Yeah, I replied. You don't look as bad as I thought you would, she said. Thanks, I guess, I said, shrugging. You're much better with black hair than as a BL. Sakura stopped to watch Sasuke walk past us. I stared for about 2 seconds before turning the other way. For some reason Sasuke didn't interest me anymore. Sasuke, Sakura cried as she waved to him. I shrugged and walked towards Naruto. Is your arm feeling better? I asked. Yeah, he said, pulling up his sleeve. There is even a mark, he said, smiling. I smiled. My mom's plant. Izubu. Yes, I'm feeling better, I said, shoving him. You know what, I'm gonna grow one of those plants, Naruto said. Can you eat it? He asked. No. But what are you having for dinner tonight? Naruto shrugged. Ramen, he said. Well, why don't you eat at our house? My mom makes the best ramen. She mixes it with 3 different sausages. It tastes great, I said. Oh, thanks Ino, but what? Naruto scratched his head. But nothing, I'll come, he said, smiling. I'd never pass up a chance to have some great ramen. I smiled back. I love Naruto's smile. I never noticed before, but he looks so cute. What was wrong with me? Had I just invited Naruto to my house for dinner? Did I just say Naruto was cute? Well, why don't you eat at our house? I heard Ino say. I glanced over to see who she was talking to. I guess maybe she was trying to invite Sasuke like always, but who I saw made me shocked. She was saying this to Naruto. No way. Maybe she pitied him. I just couldn't see it as she liked him or something. But why did I care? I lifted my backpack onto my back and tightened my grip on the flyer I had in my right hand. It was the flyer for the festival, and it had Ino's name written all over it. At least that was all I saw. I began to walk home. Shikamaru-nar, Ino cried, hitting me on the back. You gonna leave me? She asked. I didn't know we were walking home, Tather, sorry, I replied. Where's Choji? She asked, looking around. He went home already. Oh. What's with you and Naruto? I asked. You're jealous, Ino said, smiling. No, it's just. Don't be, Ino said, cutting me off and touching my nose with her index finger. You can come over to dinner too. What I mean, that's okay, I'd rather sleep, Ino guessed. No, I just don't want to be a bee. Don't worry about it, my mom would love to have you over, Ino interrupted. Keep this secret, okay, she said, putting her mouth to my ear. My mom really likes you, you remind her of my dad, She whispered. Me? I asked. Yeah. My dad is always sleeping. Ino laughed. I smiled. Ino removed my backpack from my shoulders. What are you doing? I asked. Ino jumped on my back. Ino? I said, nearly tumbling over. I'm not that heavy, she said, yanking my hair. I sighed and put my hands on her legs to hold her up. You can let me down once we get to my house, she said. No? Once we get off school property, I replied. Ah, whatever, she said, resting her head on my shoulder. Her breath was in my ear. It was pleased to hear her breathe. I didn't want to put her down so much anymore. And it turned out I didn't really have to, because by the time we had gotten off school grounds she was asleep. Mom, Naruto and Shikamaru are coming over for dinner, is that okay? Oh, we're finally warming up to that, Shikamaru, and leaving that arrogant Sasuke alone. My mom answered happily. I guess that was yes. There's nothing between me and Shikamaru, he's just my teammate and friend. And what about Naruto? Naruto, he's that blonde boy the kids usually pick on, right? I rolled my eyes. Yeah, him. Why the sudden interest in him? Do you guys have a mission, Tother? No, I just would rather him eat here than alone, okay? I grumbled as I stomped up to my room. My mother stood there confused for a second, then she went back to chopping onions. I didn't know why I was so defensive of Naruto all of a sudden. I just was. I plopped down on my bed and tried to remember what happened before I got home. I remembered falling asleep on Shikamaru's back. I couldn't believe he had carried all the way home. I thought he's just dropped me. He was definitely changing. I took out a sheet of paper from my notebook and began to draw unconsciously. I began thinking of Naruto again. Why was I always thinking of him? He was funny and caring and clueless. He loved to yell and be annoying, but deep down, it was only because he was alone. Nobody truly wants to be alone. I sighed and glanced down at the paper before me. I gasped at the sight I saw. I had drawn a picture of the lake. It was perfectly drawn, every ripple intact. I had only been drawing for a small amount of time, how could I have drawn that? Plus I have no artistic abilities. Ino? My mom shouted from downstairs. I sat up slowly, still staring at the paper. Then I finally crumbled it and threw it into my trash can. Then I ran downstairs. Here. My mom said, giving me a stack of plates. Set the table. Just as I put the last plate down, the doorbell rang. I'll get it, I said, rushing to the door. It must be Shikamaru. Naruto was never on time. I opened the door. There stood Naruto. Not Naruto, I stuttered. Yep, it's me, believe it, he said, smiling. I'm glad you're here, I said, opening the door and allowing him to walk past me. Naruto took a big sniff. Whoa, I'm glad I'm here too. It smells great. I smiled. Follow me, I said, leading the way to the kitchen. After Naruto was seated, my mom and dad both took their seats too. Is Shikamaru still coming? My mom asked. I hope so, he said he would, I think. Well, it's getting late, so I think we should begin eating, my dad said. I sighed. Naruto put some ramen to his mouth. Yum, he said, slurping it down. You weren't lying when you said your mom makes the best ramen, he said between a full mouth. I forced a smile. Where was Shikamaru? I wanted him here. I liked his company. You know, are you going to eat that? Naruto whispered. I shook my head and slid my plate towards Naruto. Just then the doorbell rang. I jumped up and ran towards the door. Once I got to it, I yanked it open. There stood Shikamaru. What took you so long? I said, hitting him. I'm sorry, he said, scratching his head. I smiled. I'm glad you're here, I said, taking his hand and pulling him along behind me. Oh, hi Shikamaru, my mom said as we entered the dining room. Shikamaru waved. Hey, he said, sitting down on the right of me. After dinner and dessert, I helped my mom stack dishes. My dad challenged Shikamaru to a game of checkers. Naruto looked bored. Wanna come up to my room? I asked him. For what? I shrugged. I don't know, maybe just come, I said, grabbing his hand. I opened the door to my room, which was cool from air condition. I shut the door and let go of Naruto's hand. What do you do every night? I asked, plopping down on my bed. Naruto looked confused. Why? I'm just asking, I replied. Naruto crossed his arms behind his head and walked towards my balcony. Do you wish on stars? He asked. I stood up and walked out on the balcony behind him. Only when I really want something. Why do you ask? He shrugged. I used to wish on stars all the time until I realized it wasn't working, he said quietly. What did you wish for? I asked. I don't want to talk about it, he replied, letting his arm down. I sorta had a guess at what he may have wished for. Maybe a family. Or maybe to be Hokage. His chance was still there. Naruto, I said. What? You know, just because you haven't gotten your wishes yet doesn't mean you won't get them, I said. I know that, he replied, turning his face to me. His blue eyes, which glowed in the moonlight, looked sad. I took a deep breath. I've realized something. No matter who we are and where we come from, we all need one thing, maybe not in the same way, but we all yearn for it. Some people may think they don't need it, but that's when they fall the hardest. Naruto turned away from me again. He was right, we all yearned for the same thing. I glanced up at the sky. There was a shooting star. Naruto, look. I cried, throwing my arm around his neck and pointing to the star. Are you gonna make a wish? Yeah, I'll try one more time. So close your eyes, I said, covering his eyes and closing mine too. I silently made a wish. And that chapter was longer than the original. Most of the same stuff there, but I changed the dialogue a bit. For all those who were reading this story before I deleted it and started over, I want you to know I have seriously changed the plot. Anyways, please reviaw like I said before, that will make the chap come quicker since it's already written. Being his star and festival decorating. And thanks for your reviews, and thanks for your reviews. Here's the next chap. I opened my eyes again. What did I wish for? I called to remember for some reason. My hands began to tremble. I pulled away from Naruto. Naruto turned around and blinked. Well, that's that, he said, smiling. I forced a smile. What did you wish for? I asked. I'm not telling, he said, smiling harder. I rolled my eyes. Then I won't tell you either. Naruto laughed. I began to laugh too. For some reason I had an uncontrollable urge to touch Naruto. This wasn't like me. I don't like Naruto. Hey, maybe we should go check on Shikamaru's game, Naruto suggested. Yeah, I said, walking towards my door. I noticed Naruto take one more glance at the sky. Naruto, before we go, make another wish, I said, WTH, my back to the door and my hand on the handle. Huh? He asked, confused. Make another wish, I repeated. There's no star, he said. Just do it, I said impatiently. But there's no. Okay, I'll be your star, I said, interrupting him. Naruto blushed. Then I realized what I had just said. I blushed too. Okay, Naruto said, closing his eyes. I found it pleasing to watch him. He was so dreamy. Everything inside of me wanted Naruto now. And it took all my strength to hold my emotions in. Wish for me, I wanted to say, but the words wouldn't escape my mouth. Naruto, he wasn't half bad. Naruto, he was strong. I had to have that power. No, what was I thinking? This is Dino. I don't care about power. I care about hair and clothes and shoes and friends. I care about a lot of things, but not power. This is weird, Naruto said, breaking the silence and opening his eyes. This wish okay, I said, smiling. Naruto closed his eyes again and nodded his head. He opened them slowly and stared at me. Did you make a wish? I asked. Yeah, he said. Good. For a moment we just stared at each other in silence. My back was still to the door and my hand on the knob. I didn't want to leave. Being in this room with him alone made me feel like we were in our own little world together, and if I opened the door it would be over. I don't want this moment to end, I said slowly. Huh? What did you say? Naruto asked loudly. Nothing, I said quickly. I was too afraid to repeat myself. I didn't know what Naruto would say. He was so unpredictable. That's why I loved him. No, you cannot fall in love in such a short time. Maybe this was always there building up, I just never helped it out. Maybe I had something for Naruto all along, I just didn't know it. I opened the door and ran down the stairs. Naruto followed close behind me. When we got to the game room we found my dad and Shikamaru sitting on the floor. My dad was sweating. How's the game going? Naruto asked loudly. SHHHHH, my dad said. I giggled and whispered in Naruto's ear. He must be losing. Naruto let out a small laugh. Checkmate, Shikamaru called, standing up. No way, my dad cried. Even I see it, Dad, you lost, I said. My dad stood up and shook Shikamaru's hand. You were a good player, he said. Shikamaru smiled. I gotta get home now, he said. Me too, Naruto said. Dinner was great, Shikamaru said. Yeah, your mom makes the best ramen, she should open a restaurant, Naruto added. I smiled. Thanks for coming. I woke Naruto and Shikamaru to the door. And we said our goodbyes. After they left I went to my room and stared in the mirror. My eyes were even darker green and my hair was still black. It wasn't that bad anymore to me. I actually looked pretty. Hand me the red ones, Sakura yelled at me. I sighed and fumbled in the bag beside me for the red streamers. The entire class was helping to decorate outside for the fundraiser. I was holding the ladder Sakura stood on, and man was she bossy. I grabbed the red streamers and passed them to her. Not these, she said. These are pink. Shikamaru, are you colorblind? I sighed again and dug in the bag some more. I didn't see any red streamers. I let go of the ladder and picked up the bag to examine it more. Shikamaru, I heard Sakura scream before falling down on me. My back fell to the ground hard. Ow, I said. Sakura looked shocked. Neither of us moved for a while. Then her face turned beet red and she looked annoyed. You better be glad you caught me, she said, hitting my arm and standing up. I should have moved out the way and let you fall. I mumbled under my breath. What did you say? Sakura yelled. I shrugged. Figure it out since you're so smart, I replied. Sakura looked like she was about to burst. Sakura, we need the ladder, Sasuke said before she could make some smart comment back at me. I'll take it, she said, stepping back from the ladder. Sasuke lifted it up and began to walk back towards Kiba and Choji, who he was working with a few feet away from us. Hey you guys, Ino said, waving. I waved back half-heartedly. Then I glanced at Sakura, who didn't wave at all. Instead she stared at Sasuke, who was staring at Ino. Ino made her way over towards us. Have you seen Hinata? She asked. No, why? I asked. Well, I asked her to go get the tape from Niji Tenten and Rock Lee's table, and she never came back. I shrugged. I don't know what could have happened. What I don't understand is why they split everyone up into groups, but they got to work together, and I got stuck with. I nodded my head to Sakura. This whole day has been a drag. I sighed. Ino smiled. It's okay, she can't be that bad. You wanna switch? I asked. Nope, I'm having too much fun with Naruto, she said, smiling. For some reason after she said that I felt a sick feeling in my stomach. This wasn't jealousy. I can't be jealous of Naruto and Ino. No way. See ya, she said, walking away. I stared at her like I had been doing these past days. What did love feel like? If this was it, I hated it. Where were you? Naruto cried as Hinata walked back to her table. You said you were hot, so I got you this, she said, holding out a cup with crushed ice and syrup. Naruto looked a little angry. You didn't have to do that, I was fine, you really worried me, Naruto said. I'm sorry, Hinata stuttered. No, don't apologize, Naruto said, taking the cup. Thank you, he said, smiling. I got you one tea too, Ino, Hinata said, handing me a cup too. Oh thanks, Hinata, I said, my eyes fixed on Naruto. He seemed so angry that Hinata had gone missing. He really cared about her. For some reason that made me feel jealous. Did he care for me that way? Would he be angry if I went missing? Wait, why did I care what was wrong with me? This wasn't normal for me to like Naruto. I didn't want to feel this way. Wait, yes I did. I wanted to feel this way. Well, at least part of me did. I pinched my arm and bit my lip to keep from screaming. You ready? I asked Ino, who was leaning against a tree. She looked kinda sad and she was shivering. Joji had gone on home earlier along with a lot of other people. It had cooled down some, but it was still pretty warm. It would only be a little while longer before sunset. Maybe about 3 hours. Ino pushed off of the tree and walked towards me, her arms crossed in front of her. Oh, are you okay? I asked. Yeah, she said, shaking her head. Just a little cold, she added. Cold? I asked. Yeah, she replied. I couldn't see how she could be cold, it was still hot outside. Ah, here, I said, taking off my jacket and putting over her. Thanks, she said, smiling. It's nothing, I'm hot anyway, I said, shrugging. Ino took my hand. I could feel my face get red and my legs stopped moving. Your hands are warm, she said. Yeah, it's not cold outside. Are you sure you're okay? I don't know, I think I am, she replied. You think you are? I asked, raising my eyebrow. You know what, I'm gonna talk to Tsunade about this because it isn't normal. What exactly did she say again? She said it should wear off, Ino replied. I sighed. Do you think you will be able to make it to the fundraiser tomorrow? I asked. Ino nodded. You know you're not. Before I could finish my sentence, Ino lost her balance and began to fall to the ground. I caught her before she hit it hard. Ino? I said frantically. She didn't answer. I was gonna have to carry her home. I lifted her into my arms and prepared for the walk. This wasn't normal. I silently swore that I wasn't gonna let this go on anymore. I was gonna get to the bottom of this. And that's it for this chap. Please review the green book and the little brown box. And thanks for all your reviews. And thanks for all your reviews. Sorry I took so long to update. I had to make renditions to this chap, and I was so lazy and busy to do so. Here it goes though. Enjoy. Yawn. I sat up and stretched. Glancing around, I noticed I was in my room. I didn't remember walking here. I tried to think back. The last thing I could remember was yesterday when me and Shikamaru were walking home and I had fainted. He must have carried me home again. I glanced out my open window. It was night time, and a small breeze flew through it and hit my face gently. I jumped off my bed and grabbed the phone. I tried calling Shikamaru, but the phone just rang. Pick up. I cried into the receiver, but it was no use. I sighed and hung up. I sat down on my bed and looked around. I wasn't tired in the least bit, and I was extremely bored, cold, and not to mention annoyed. I had been dreaming of someone, but I couldn't remember who. Shikamaru's Pav. Is she around? Tsunade went out for a while. Why? I just wanted to speak to her about something, I said, shrugging. Well, I'll tell her you came by. I nodded and walked away. Standing outside, I crossed my arms and looked up into the sky. What else could I do? I closed my eyes, the sun against my face. I began to think more. My mind raced to one time I was in class sleeping. My subconscious had picked up something about a myth. Yes, like something. That book, I had seen it on Tsunade's desk before we were sent on our mission. I had to take it. I ran back inside. This wasn't going to be easy. Everyone in here was a ninja, and it would be hard to get past them. I had to think of something. If only I could do shadow clone jutsu like Naruto. Think Shikamaru think. Maybe I could just ask Tsunade for it, but I don't think she would give it to me. I'm gonna just walk right in and take it. I decided finally. I walked towards the door to the office slowly at first. Then I saw the shadow of someone nearing. I rushed into the door and shut it quietly. Then I rushed to the desk and scrambled around it. I didn't see the book. Where was it? I turned around, there was a shelf behind her desk. I quickly scanned it for the book. Just as I was about to give up, my eyes caught a glimpse of a green book. That was it. I grabbed it. Now how was I supposed to get out? I couldn't just march out the door. I rushed to the window and lifted it up. I couldn't believe how easy this had been. I jumped out quickly, my body shaking. I kept chanting to myself. This is for Ino, this is for Ino, this is for Ino. I had finally gotten home after the long walk. I plopped down on my bed and opened the book. I began to scan through the pages. Noyor, the name caught my eye. There was a picture of that lake Ino fell in. I began to read under it. There was a story of a woman 1,000 years ago named Naora who had taken a walk with her love near a lake. The guy who was in love with another woman drowned her. The story also said that since that day no one had ever touched the water from that lake from fear. Fear of what? I said aloud. This was all strange. Some pages had been ripped out, so I read what I couldn't make out exactly what was going on. Shoot. I mumbled, flipping more pages. I stopped as the word power caught my eye. What was this? I read slowly. From my understanding, the person who fell in the lake would crave power as they slowly making way for Noyora's reincarnation. I raised my eyebrow and kept on reading. Any intimate interactions with the person holding the power the victim craves will slowly cause them to lose control, allowing Noyora to take it. The more intimate the interaction, the more you will lose control until... More ripped pages. I frowned and flipped some more until the words cure caught my eyes. I stopped. This is what I needed to read. What? I cried. The cure part had been ripped from the book. Just my luck. I sighed. Of course I didn't believe in all this. This had to be some sort of myth. Something to put children to bed at night. Even though I knew it wasn't real, I could help but wonder who did Ino crave with power. My mind began to race. Gar? No, not him. Sasuke. No, she hasn't been speaking of him since the accident. Who could it be? Suddenly an image flashed through my head. Naruto. It was 8 a.m. Saturday morning. I yawned and drank a sip of water. Are you feeling any better? My mom, who was cooking breakfast, asked. I shook my head yes. I had been really hot last night, so I slept in a spaghetti-strapped shirt that stopped before my stomach and some short shorts. My dad wasn't home, so I came downstairs that way. I'm really glad you're feeling better. You should really thank Shikamaru. He carried you all the way home yesterday. She added. I know. I said quietly. You thanked him already? My mom asked, turning away from the pan to face me. No, I said. Well, you really should. I think he likes you. Why else would he be so nice? We're just friends. He's on my team and we're from the same village. If it was Sakura, he'd do the same. I mumbled. I'm sure he would, but have you ever seen the way he looks at you? I sighed. Like he looks at everyone, like he's had enough and would rather be sleeping. I said, rolling my eyes. Okay, you can deny. Knock knock. The sound of the door cut my mom off. I'll get it. I said, jumping up out of my seat. I was personally relieved to get out of there. I didn't feel like listening to my mom go on about her theories on me and Shikamaru. He didn't like me. I knew, and besides, if he did, I wasn't sure if I felt the same way. I opened the door quickly, hoping to see Naruto. Yes, I wanted to see Naruto. I had dreamed of him last night. It wasn't a nightmare, it was actually pretty nice, although I couldn't remember it. Oh yeah, back to the door. There stood Sasuke. He was holding a small brown box. Hey. I said, opening the door wider so he could enter. Instead of coming in, he shoved the box into my arms. Here, he said. What's this? I asked. He shrugged. I don't know, Shizune told me to deliver it to you. She did? I asked, raising an eyebrow. Yeah, I said she did, didn't I? You girls always. Just then the box slipped from my hands onto the ground. Sasuke moved his foot away just in time to dodge it. Ops. I said, leaning down to pick it up. At the same time he had bent down too. Our hands reached the box at the same time. He lifted his head back up but then paused. What? I asked, confused. Sasuke blushed and then I realized what was going on. I jumped back up with the box covering my chest. Sasuke didn't move, instead he stayed in the same position as before. I was too shocked and embarrassed to say anything. I had mixed feelings about what had just happened. Part of me was happy Sasuke had even looked at me, and a part of me was furious. I threw the box at him. I called help. It was a reflex, a late one, but it was there. Sasuke dodged the box. What the? Before the words could come out I charged at him in the air, readying for a punch. Sasuke caught my punch and pushed me back. You know why? I didn't listen. Instead I raised my leg to kick him. He put his arm up to block that as well. He underestimated my strength, and the blows sent him flying back a bit. I didn't stop at that. I came towards him again. Okay, you asked for it. Sasuke yelled, running at me. Just when he was in arm's reach he disappeared. Substitution. I muttered. Sasuke was in the air over my head now. Before I could move, he knocked me to the ground. I lay on the lawn, my back on in the grass, and he lay over me, his hands on either side of me. His face was so close to mine I could feel his breath. "Now take it easy," he said, putting his arms on my shoulders so that he held me down. Doing this, he had to position himself so that he wasn't leaning all his weight on me. So he sat up over me, his knees on either side of me and his face still close to mine. I really prayed no one saw us, or it would really be the talk of the village. I wasn't staring pervertedly, I just noticed something strange. He said, still over me. I rolled my eyes. "What did you see?" I asked. Part of me was more than happy to have Sasuke this close to me. Then this weird part, which was Sue, not me, was annoyed. "A mark," he said. "What?" "You should go see Tsunade immediately before it spreads. Trust me, you don't want that." "What exactly happened on your mission?" he asked. My body fell into the lake. I mumbled. "That's how you changed?" he asked. I shook my head the best I could. "Not that I care or anything, but you should really get yourself checked out," Sasuke said, closing his eyes and shaking his head. "You don't care?" I said teasingly. Sasuke blushed and a look of embarrassment shot across his face. I just make sure you get it looked at, okay?" he said. That made him blush even more. "Okay, I will if it'll make you happy," I said, smiling. "You're different," Sasuke said, eyeing me closely. "You're different too," I said. No way in the world would Sasuke Uchiha be this close to me. Sasuke jumped back off of me just as my mom came to the door. You know who she paused when she saw me on the ground and Sasuke standing off to the side. Sasuke helped me up off the ground. "What exactly is going on here?" my mom asked, raising an eyebrow. I smiled. "Sasuke was just here to deliver this to me," I said, holding up the box. "And now he's leaving," I said, pushing him. Sasuke half waved and began to walk away. My mom still stood there looking suspicious. "You know," she began, but before she could go on, I ran upstairs to the bathroom. I had to check out something. And that's it for this chap. Naruto wasn't in it, I know, but bear with me. Anyways, please review. The mark. And sorry I took forever to update. And sorry I took forever to update. I was so into my other stories I kinda forgot about updating this one. Slaps forehead, sorry again. Anyways, thanks for your reviews. Here goes nothing. I ran into the bathroom and closed the door behind me. I rushed to the mirror. First I looked at my face, which looked more pale, and now my eyes were hazel brown. I covered my mouth to keep from screaming. Hazel eyes. This so wasn't me. I took a deep breath. Okay, no, it's not that bad, I told myself. I moved my eyes on down to my chest. Just as I thought, my chest had gotten bigger through this whole thing. That was a keep. Right then I noticed the mark Sasuke was talking about. It was black and a symbol I called make out. I touched it, which was a big mistake. Pain shot through my entire body. My legs began to shake and I fell to my knees. I had never experienced pain like this before. I didn't want to scream and worry my mother. I glanced around the room and saw the box laying on the floor. With a small bit of energy I had left, I grabbed it and tore it open. Inside was a note and another box. The note read, "Dear Ino, I'm sorry, Tsunade will be away for a few days until she returns. She suggests you wear this necklace. And keep calm. When she gets back she'll be right with you. Bye. Shizune. P.S. Have fun at the festival." I threw the letter down and opened the smaller box. There was a beautiful necklace inside. A small red stone was held by a red band. I wrapped it slowly round my neck. Shikamaru's pav. Knock knock. I was at Ino's house early in the morning. I could smell the smells of breakfast coming from the open window. The door opened and Ino's mother stood there with a spatula in her hand. "Oh, hello, Shikamaru," she said. "You're just in time for breakfast," she said, opening the door wider. "Where's Ino?" I asked. "She's upstairs, I think." Before she could finish, I dashed past her and ran up the stairs. I knocked on Ino's room door. There was no answer. I opened it and peeked inside. She wasn't there. I knocked on the bathroom door. There was no answer either. I tried to open the door, but it was locked. "Open the door," I said. There was no reply. I sighed. "Shadow precision jutsu," I cried as I sent my shadow under the door. I put my hand on the knob and twisted. So Ino did the same. The door opened and Ino collapsed. I caught her before she hit the floor. "Ino?" said, shaking her lightly. She didn't reply. She was unconscious, her body warm and sweaty. She wore a necklace around her neck. I hadn't seen it before today. I wanted to touch the stone, but I was too afraid to reach for it. It hung down Ino's chest, a small bit of it went into her shirt. I knew with my luck Ino would wake up just when I touched it and call me a perv or something. I glanced up and noticed a note. I reached for it and read it aloud. It was from Shizune telling Ino to wear some necklace. I guess it was the one she had on. But why was she not feeling better? I lifted her up and carried her to her room, just as her mother walked up the stairs and fainted as well. Ino's pav. I opened my eyes and looked around. I was in my room. I was about to sit up, but I felt something heavy on my stomach. Shikamaru's head rested on my bare waist. His eyes were closed. I guess he was asleep. He looked so peaceful when he slept. I never really watched him sleep, and he did sleep a lot. Shikamaru, I whispered. His eyes twitched a bit before opening. He jumped back. It's not what you think, he said. I smiled. I thought you were here to help out a friend, but if that's not it then, no, I was here to help you, I mean talk to you, he said, blushing. I giggled. I enjoyed teasing him. What did you need to talk to me about? I asked. I don't think you should go Toddy Festival tonight, he said. Why not? I asked. I've been waiting for this since we first discussed it 3 months ago. I can't explain it all to you now, but if you and you're awake. My mother cried, bursting into the door and running towards me. Shikamaru stood up and backed away. My mother grabbed me and squeezed me tightly. I could barely breathe. Out of the corner of my eye I saw Shikamaru slip out of my room. I wanted to stop him, but I didn't know what to say. Shikamaru's pav. I could already tell Ino wouldn't believe anything I told her about staying away from Naruto. So I had decided that if Ino wasn't going to take my advice and stay away from the festival, I was going to make sure she stayed away from Naruto. I wished Tsunade-sama would hurry back to Konoha. Ino's pav. I thought about what Shikamaru had said earlier. Why did he want me to stay home tonight? And what was he saying before my mom cut him off? It was my idea to have this fundraiser and he didn't want me to go. This was crazy. This whole wheel had been crazy. Shikamaru was my friend. I knew he had to have a good reason for telling me not to go, but my thoughts were interrupted by the sound of Naruto's voice outside. I smiled. He was stuffing his mouth with cake. Naruto was hopeless, but so cute. I had a sudden urge to talk to him. I hopped off of my bed and tiptoed downstairs. My mother was in her room. After a lot of begging, pleading and explaining, she had agreed to let me go to the festival tonight, but I was supposed to be resting now. I opened the door and closed it gently behind me. Naruto looked up the moment I came out. He raised an eyebrow. That's when I noticed I was still in my sleeping clothes. Are you okay? He asked. I blushed and nodded. Naruto walked towards me. Any of your wishes come true? He asked. Not yet, I replied. Why? Just asking, he said, wiping cake crumbs from his mouth. His eyes are so blue and dreamy. I had never noticed how blue Naruto's eyes were, or the way his cheeks reminded me so much of a fox. I was beyond tempted to touch him. I began to reach my hand out towards him when I paused. What was I thinking? I fought the urge to touch him and began humming instead. What are you doing? Naruto asked. I shook my head. I don't know. Naruto laughed. You sound horrible, he said, clutching his stomach as he laughed louder. You're evil, I said, slapping his shoulder playfully. He was right, I had no singing talent. Naruto just kept laughing. Okay, it's not that funny, I said, crossing my arms. Naruto took a deep breath and looked up. There's something different about you, he said, staring at me hard. Did you know your eyes are hazel? I nodded. I just found out today. That's weird, he said, scratching his head. When will that stuff wear off? I don't know, I said, rubbing the necklace Shizune had sent. Naruto looked up at the sky. Do you think it'll rain tonight? He asked. I looked up. The sky was perfectly clear, no sign of rain. I don't think so, I replied. It'll be a full moon, he said. Maybe we'll see another shooting star. I smiled and remembered the last shooting star we saw together. If I see a shooting star tonight, I want you to be there with me, I said. Huh? Naruto said, looking at me. His eyes widened. I giggled. I want you to go with me to the festival, silly. You know, why are you being so nice to me? Naruto asked. I didn't know what to say. I had no idea why I had a sudden strong attraction to Naruto. I shrugged. I think that stuff affected your brain, he said, patting me in the head. I rolled my eyes. Naruto, you're so dense, I said, smacking him in the head and walking back towards the door. I was just about to turn the knob when Naruto called out to me. Wait, he said. I paused, my hand still on the knob. I'll go with you, he said. I turned back around, he was smiling extra hard. I smiled too and opened the door. It was the moment I stepped inside that I felt the sharp pangs in my chest. What was happening to me? And that's it for this chap. Please review. And new author. Well, that's all. UP49 Rain Revenge Fiend Falcon Hunter, whatever you want to call her, wrote. So I'm going to continue from here. If you feel like I need to do something differently, just say so in a review. Advice is welcome and ideas too. Thank you, lol, that kind of rhymes. The voice and the phone call. Alright, people of fanfiction, I just wanted to say that I hope this is good for you. Again, if it's not, put in a review what you think I should do differently in here. Pav. I lay on my bed thinking of what was happening to me. Why was I suddenly so attracted to Naruto? The one who was obsessed with Ramen. The same one who was always such a dork. The one who could always make someone smile and laugh and had beautiful crystal blue eyes. What was I thinking? I was attracted to Naruto, yes. But that could mean in a friendly way, right? Yes, that had to be it. There was no way I was falling in love with Naruto. How could I? Naruto was nice, but he and we didn't seem to fit together as perfect couples should. Like puzzle pieces that don't fit together, I thought. The phone rang. I didn't bother to get it. The truth is I didn't really hear it. I was so absorbed in my own thoughts to hear anything at the moment. And when is this Lakewater stuff going to wear off? My thoughts were cut short by my mom. It's Sakura on the phone. Okay, I got it. I called down the hall. I had already gotten up and picked up the other phone, which was conveniently in my room. Hello, came a cheerful voice from the other end of the line. Hi, I replied. Why are you? Okay, we need to go shopping for the festival. I'm going to ask Hinata and Tenten too. So want to come? She blurted out. Duh, you don't know me anymore if I don't want to go shopping, I squealed out. Yeah, I figured Hinata and Tenten needed some, guidance so they can ask out Naruto and Niji. Sakura explained. At the thought of Hinata even hoping she could go with him, made my blood boil. I really didn't want anyone to get in the way of our relationship. Oh my gosh, what was I thinking? Hinata was my friend, and Naruto is a friend too, a friend. So, you're just going to let her gather up her courage to ask him to dance with her, are you? What the who are you? Well, who are you? There was silence in my head. I was getting annoyed now. When voices are in your head, you must be having a bad day, a very bad day. Ino? Sakura's voice brought me back out of my thoughts. And I realized how dumb I was. It was only my imagination, Ino, that's it. Sorry, I spaced out. What was that? I replied. I was a bit embarrassed. But we were best friends, nothing could tear us apart. I said, will you help Hinata me with Hinata and Tenten? I mean, they have had a crush on those two for a very long time, since Jen, I think. And well, playing matchmaker should be pretty fun. Don't you think? Ino? I couldn't say anything, I needed to think. I didn't want Hinata to go out with Naruto, but I didn't want people to think me and Naruto were dating. Because we're not dating, I thought finally. Yes, but you don't want to lose such a pretty boy to such a wimp like her, do you? Who the heck are you? I thought. This was really weird. I wasn't supposed to hear voices inside my head. But the voice was right, I needed to tell. And I didn't want to lose Naruto to Hinata. Sakura, about that I'm going out with Naruto. Crash. I heard a big crash on the other side off the phone. What, you and Naruto are dating? She sounded excited for Naruto, most likely, surprised from the shock, and she sounded like she couldn't believe it. No, we're going only as friends, I said in a desperate tone. But you want to go as boyfriend and girlfriend, don't you? The mysterious voice sounded like it knew everything. My thoughts, my secrets, even things I didn't knew existed. Wow, well then. I guess Hinata's not going out with Naruto, Sakura said, trying to maintain her composure. No, not for the festival at least, I said. Yeah, she said awkwardly. There was a long awkward silence. Hey Sakura, we're still going on that shopping trip, right? I mean, come on. Tenten still needs us, and Hinata can still join us, I said in a matter-of-factly tone. Shopping all the way, meet us at the park at about 3 o'clock, okay? Okay, I replied. I thought for a moment. Sakura, I have to tell you something. I took a deep breath and tried to tell her this in a way that didn't sound like she was crazy. I'm hearing a voice in my head that won't go away, I said, a bit frustrated about even thinking of it. Sakura? I thought after a minute or so. Sakura? She squealed. It sounded like she was happy. Wait, happy? Why was she happy? As far as I was concerned, this was a pretty bad sign for me. You have your inner self, she continued to sound happy. I was a bit worried now. Huh? Your inner self comes along when well, I don't really know why it comes into your head, but it does. I have one too. It helps me a lot. And, if anyone knows why, tell me please. I sighed with relief. I was glad Sakura had one too. I didn't want to think I was crazy or something. Is it? She asked. Thanks, see ya 3. Oh, and please don't tell anyone about my inner self, and for now don't tell anyone about Naruto and I, please. Okay, see ya. See ya. I hung up. Is that really all you are, my inner self? I thought, trying to communicate with my inner self. Yes, and I'll help guide you towards your goals, dreams, and wishes. Okay, sorry, that was probably boring reading that. I mean, it was only about Ino and Sakura talking. I swear, I'll make the next chap more interesting. I loved 8 ASAP. Scary surprises. Ino? I looked at the clock, it was 2:16. I decided to wear a different outfit. There were tons of outfits that wouldn't match my blonde hair. But because I now had black hair, I could wear those outfits. And I wanted to wear them before the Lakewater wore off. Of course, it's not like I wanted to go and have black hair forever. It's just I wanted to try something new. Might as well, if you have the opportunity to do it, but still. I sighed. I just want to look like the old me with blonde hair, and soon. I think you look good as you are. Why do you want to change your beautiful face? Huh? I asked, surprised from the sudden voice. Oh, sorry, I forgot I had an inner me. I thought, trying to speak and talk to my inner self. I see, my inner self said, in a soft voice. It sounded well, anxious and flustered most of the time. Like it had when it answered my apology just then. You just don't know what I looked like when I was blonde. I was very pretty. And everyone loved me. I was a bit frustrated at her. I think it's in it. Anyway, I got a bit frustrated when her reply was a dead silence, like a stubborn silence where I had to think about what it said to me. I started to pick out my outfit. I had many clothes to pick from. I wondered how I got so many. Though you know, I love to shop. I giggled at the thought of me actually thinking about how I got them. The real question was when. You know, I'm a she. Not in it practically, I mean she. Practically screamed the last part in my head. I gasped though. I didn't even think that. I just assumed that she was in it. How did she know if I just assumed straight away without even thinking? How did you know that? I asked, trying to keep cool, although I did it unsuccessful. I know how you feel, and what you know and don't know about yourself. I know your secrets. I know everything about you. Even what your weaknesses are, she said with a cold tone. I was trembling. I couldn't think my thoughts or else she would know. Oh my gosh. She would still know even if I didn't think it. Having an inner me was, well, I didn't like it. It was starting to scare me, and I wanted it out. I quickly began choosing my outfit. I thought it would help, but at least it was going to give me an excuse to not pay attention to her. I picked my outfit and quickly changed into it. I was wearing short denim shorts, with a black, white, and pink striped belt. Tat was made out of regular flowing material. And sorry, I don't really know how to describe the belt. Use your imagination for it. A black tank top, which had a pink skull on it. And black flip-flops, with pink on the soles of them. I looked rather cute. I smiled, a half smile at the mirror I was looking into. I looked at the clock. It was 2:48. I bit my lip. If I don't hurry, I'll be late, I thought. Yes, we will. And by the way, sorry about that comment earlier. I was just a bit mad at you. It told me in a plain, emotionless voice. I shrugged. It's okay, just don't do that again, okay? Alright, she replied. Although, I had a funny suspicion that she would do it again. And it would be soon too. And right, I'll admit it. It was horrible. But I'll make the next couple of chapters interesting. I mean, come on, when Ino and Sakura are together, things get interesting. Please review, and sorry it took so long to update. The chap deleted itself. Then I went on a short vacay. So yeah. I'll update soon. Bidding the others. Okay, here's the next chap. In case some of you haven't noticed, I am starting a new story. Well, don't worry, I won't be neglecting this story. I will continue Fane Falcon Hunter's work no matter what. Well, here's the next chap. Sakura. I went looking for Team Guy. I knew that if I found Team Guy I could ask Tenten if she would come shopping, face to face. Although Rock Lee would probably flirt with her, she would deal with that later. Also Nichi would be there. Since he was Hinata's cousin, he would know exactly where she is, I hope. I found Team Guy in the training field. The field was basically a patch of dirt. Only with a few patches of grass that hadn't died, or been pulled from its roots by people training and doing spars. I hadn't been noticed yet, that was okay with me. Rock Lee probably would notice in a bit, but it would give Tenten and I some time. Together alone. I mean, I didn't dislike or hate Lee, I just didn't want to be noticed so Tenten could think about it without boys around. Tenten was watching them with a bored look on her face. They were having a spare. Lee is trying to show his burning youth spar match. It didn't surprise me that she was bored, she had been watching them fight like this since they were genin. So I just walked behind her and was about to whisper in her ear when, I know you're there, Tenten told me. I giggled. Hi, I replied. The boys continued to fight while I was unnoticed. Okay, you wouldn't come to Team Guy knowing Lee might ask you out, so, what's up? She asked in a teasing tone. Well, I'll come right out and say it. Then I said, Ino and I are going shopping, and we were wondering if you would like to come with us. No? She said. I don't like shopping, she said in a plain matter-of-fact voice. I pouted, but why not? She blinked at me, I her. Sakura yelled, the Leaf Village's most handsome beast. Okay, he's seen us. As I sweat dropped. Lee's not that bad, I told my inner self. I could tell it was shrugging. Hi Lee, I said, smiling. It didn't matter if he saw me now, she already said no. And what is a youthful blossom like you doing here today? Asked Lee. Click. I got an idea, I told my inner self. Oh, I was just asking Tenten here if she wanted to spend a day with the girls. I told Lee. Tenten, you are going shopping with the youthful Sakura? He asked, beaming. No, I declined, she muttered, giving me a warning glare. But it's the youthful Sakura. It would be good for you to have some quality time with each other. You need some girl time anyway. Guy butted in, who was listening in from across the field. It's time to reel her in, my inner self told me. Oh, and Nichi, can you tell Hinata to come to the park at 3 o'clock if she wants to come shopping with Ino and I asked as him. He nodded. He smirked at Tenten, Lee and Guy. That settles it. You are going shopping with the 3 youthful Kanauchi of Konoha, Guy declared. Nuo, groaned Tenten. Yes, Inumi said. Okay, see you at 3 o'clock in the park. Please don't forget to tell Hinata, Niji. I smiled at him. And I left. I went to the park. I looked at my watch, it was 3:08. I was late. Oh come on, that's no fair. I thought. It might be fair, if you think about it, Inumi said. I grumbled. I ran in the park. Went straight to the playground, and sure enough, there was Sakura, Tenten, and Hinata waiting. Sakura looked annoyed and impatient at me, Tenten looked very bored and annoyed, and Hinata looked calm and bored. Sorry I'm late, I called to them. Oh well, let's go, Sakura said. Hinata nodded and blushed. And Tenten looked disgruntled. But overall, shopping would be very fun. And the festival would be one of the best nights of my life. I couldn't have more wrong. Please review people. I thank the people who did review the last couple of chaps, and they are CHIBIRAIN 94, KITSUNE 6. Fane Falcon Hunter and 007. Thanks to those people who have reviewed, your reviews are as important as the story itself. Thanks again to those people, and if you haven't reviewed, please review. I'm not demanding you do, but it would be nice. I'll update soon. Thanks for rating. Shopping with the Girls Part 1. Here's the next chap. We went straight to the mall. Me and Sakura decided to shop for Tenten last. For 3 reasons. 1. We knew that if we got done shopping for her, then she would want to go straight away. 2. We were evil like that, okay, we were actually trying to tease her about shopping. Not a huge evil crime. 3. We, as her friends, feel the need to spend some girl time shopping. As Lee put it. I mean, we are all friends, Sakura, Tenten, Hinata, and I. But with all the missions and training, we don't get to spend as much time together as we would have liked to. So this is a really good chance to spend some time together, if we keep everyone together for the afternoon. Why are you trying to spend time with these pests? My inner self asked. Because we have known each other for a really long time, and we are all friends, especially Sakura and I told her. But isn't that girl with weird eyes the one who is in love with you, Naruto? And that Tenten girl, I bet she doesn't even want to be here right now, from the way she's acting. And Sakura, she's taking all of the attention when it comes to boys. And this does include Naruto. I was completely taken aback. Sure, I knew all of those things, but I never bothered to think how that would affect me, until my inner self talked about them. She had a point. Hello? Yamanaka, are you there? Ha, I asked. It was Sakura who was talking to me. She looked a bit concerned. Are you okay? She asked. I had to think about that, was I okay? I mean, ever since that lake water came into my life, everything changed. My face, my hair, my eyes, my love life. I blushed at the thought of me liking Naruto. We were just friends. You are fine. Tell Sakura that, instructed my inner self. I'm fine, I blurted out. They all stared at me. Sorry, I just spaced out. That's all, I said while rubbing the back of my head. Oh, alright, said Sakura. She grinned like it was some kind of joke, like I was thinking of something fun, or someone. But no, I was disturbed, because for once my inner me was right. My friends did act like that. Why was I hanging out with them? Wait, what was I thinking? They were my friends, my comrades, I could trust them with my life. Although it did make me wonder. We started shopping for Sakura first. We looked through a lot of shops. Finally she found a dress for herself. When Sakura tried it on, she looked so beautiful. That made me a bit jealous. Naruto was sure to fall for her, not me. This was getting annoying, cause like I told myself before, we're just friends. I screamed in my head, so I would get the message. There was no reason to be jealous if I don't like him. Friends, that was it. Just friends. It was a light pink color. It went down to her knees. Although it was light and flowy, very flowy. At the bottom of the dress, there were beautiful blossoms embroidered with clear sequins in it. At the top it was a spaghetti strap. It also had clear sequins sewn up the straps and across the top of it. She was wearing pink boots with no heel. They matched perfectly. Not only did the dress and the shoes go well together, but the dress matched her attitude and hair very well too. I found the right dress, she screamed with excitement. And she dashed into the changing rooms to change out of it. We got some weird glances, and some disapproving looks to be yelling in a public store. Even though Sakura yelled not us. So we pretended not to hear her, or more to the point, not to know her. Of course the fact that we were staring at her at the time didn't help. Next was Hinata. We went to a lot of different stores for her too. She would have been content with a long dress that didn't show anything. Come on Hinata, we urged her to come out of the changing rooms to show us the dress we picked out for her. It can't be that bad, Tenten said. She seemed a bit bored. But she also seemed amused that Hinata didn't want to try on dresses too, but for a different reason. Oh okay. Please don't laugh, she told us. She came out. Her face was flushed with embarrassment. You look great, I squealed. No, you look excellent, Sakura told her. She had a motherly look on her face. Like her daughter had just learned how to say, Mama. I had to suppress a giggle. Tenten looked relieved that she finally came out. She also looked amused that her face was becoming as red as a ripe cherry or tomato. It was lavender color. It matched her eyes. The dress had short see-through sleeves. They were light magenta color. The dress showed her curves and looked very good on her figure. It didn't match her shy attitude. At the waist down though, it was flowy, like Sakura's. The dress went down below her knees. She was going to wear some flip-flops with it. Hinata began. We're getting it for you, whether you like it or not, declared Sakura. And, well, I couldn't help it. I took out my cell phone and snapped a picture of her. And if you don't wear it, then I'll show everyone this picture of you, I told her, smiling. She knew she couldn't say no. So we bought it and moved to another store. I was next. Okay, I would continue, but I have homework. Plus it was a loon chap for me. Please review, please don't be lazy, I know you're out there. Lol. I think I put a poll up. But I'm not quite sure, please go and vote on it. It involves this story. Thanks for reading. Shopping with the Girls Part 2. Part 2. I was glad that Hinata and Sakura got their dresses. And I was glad that it was now my turn to go shopping. Oh, you mean our dress? She said it more of a statement than a question. I rolled my eyes but didn't say anything. We went in multiple stores, just because they were on the way to my favorite store. Sakura wanted to go into a shoe store, and then a pharmacy, and then she went inside another one, just because the skirt in there was pink and cute. Hinata and Tenten, well, Hinata wanted to go inside a toy store to get her sister, Hanabi something. And Tenten wanted to go inside a weaponry shop to get, well, what else? More weapons. It's very rude and inconsiderate that these so-called friends are holding you up. Hissed my inner self. I clenched my fist, my inner me was getting on my nerves. We finally got to the store I wanted to go into. We looked around. I wanted a dark blue or navy dress. We all looked around, and for the first time, I saw that Tenten was enjoying herself. She was smiling and she giggled as Hinata and Tenten talked together. They were looking for clothes at the same time, of course. I didn't know what they were talking about, but I could guess that they were probably talking about Niji. Hey, over here, called Sakura. I went over to her, and she pulled out a dress that was blue, but it didn't seem to be the right dress. I told her it didn't seem right, and she put it back. Sakura and I were looking together. But then Tenten and Hinata came over with a dress. Okay, we saw this and we think you like it. So, here it is, Tenten said bluntly. Hinata was holding up the perfect dress. I smiled. No, I grinned, and I thought I could kiss them. I was so proud that they found the right dress. And we found a D-dress for Tenten too, Hinata mumbled. I didn't see Tenten's dress. She zipped into the changing room before we could ask what it looked like. I went in the changing room too. My dress was short, above the knees short. It was strapless. It was tied around my stomach, but it loosened out when it got around my belly button. And it kind of hung like damp material. There were tiny stars at the bottom, and it went around the rim of the dress, and it went around the rim of the top too. It was gorgeous. I looked out and saw Tenten in a long maroon dress. It was plain. It had tank top straps, and showed her curves very well. It had a low collar. She looked like a model, with a ninja twist. You look lovely, Tenten, I said to her. If your skin could glow happiness, mine would be as bright as the sun. Thanks, you look excellent. She's right, for once, said the inner me. I didn't take much notice, although I did hear her. Unfortunately. Oh my gosh, that looks so well, Sakura began, but she squealed and hugged me. You look great, she finally said. I smiled, thanks. Why yes, you do look wonderful, Hinata said to me. Sakura released me from the hug. Yeah, thanks for picking it out, guys, I said. No problem, Tenten said. Hinata smiled and blushed. Tenten and I got changed out of them and bought the dresses. And we said our goodbyes and went home. I couldn't wait till the festival. But I would have never had guessed what was in store for me. Okay, thanks to those people who voted on the poll. Please vote on it. New changes. Thanks for the reviews. I'd like to know how you think of my story so far. So thanks again. On with the chat. I got home and started to go through my dresser and drawers for my makeup kit and my hair kit. I turned on my radio, and it was Girlfriend by Avril Lavigne. I smiled. I love this song. It was so cool. I like this song too. It reminds of me of what you and Naruto should be. I ignored her. But I found that increasingly difficult. I put my hair down from its ponytail. I started to work on my hair first. It took a while, but in the end I got it done. Then I did my makeup. I didn't want to put on too much, because we were friends, just friends. This wasn't even a date, it was a date. My inner self finished for me. No. It's a, outing, yes, an outing together. That's it. But I felt something. Like disappointment, when heard that. But it seemed like I was telling it to myself. So I wouldn't get carried away with the idea that I was in love with Naruto Uzumaki. You do love him. My inner self said snidely. My eyes widened in surprise and a bit in humiliation. No, I didn't love him, I liked him, as a friend. Nothing more. No, we're just friends, I told her firmly. When I was done, I put on my dress, being careful not to mess up my make and hair. I should have waited to put on my makeup, I thought. My hands were shaking from excitement about seeing how I would like in my outfit, with my hair done and everything. When I got the dress on, I looked in the mirror and gasped. I looked beautiful. I had blue eyeliner on and some lip gloss, nothing special. But it just seemed to click together with my dress, like a two puzzle pieces. My hair was in half ponytail, the top half, that was in a ponytail, was actually a braid. The bottom half had a bit of wave at the bottom of it. It was very pretty in my opinion. But something seemed wrong. I looked more closely. The mark was showing on my chest, but that was fine with me. And oh my goodness. I had highlights. I didn't remember putting in highlights. I just put it up in a half ponytail, and my mom braided it. How did I get highlights? You look lovely. I'm sure Naruto will fall head over heels for you. Enough about Naruto, why do I have highlights? I screamed it in my head. I think you look lovely in highlights. And maybe the lake water has something to do with this. I think you're right, I said back after a bit of silence. I heard a knock at the door. I quickly answered it. And there was Naruto. He was in a black jacket and black pants. The shirt under his jacket was a light orange. I blushed at the sight of him. He looked very handsome. Wow, he looks hot. My inner me squealed. Hello, Naruto. Said politely. He seemed to be looking me over. He smiled. Hi, you look fantastic. He said, grinning. I saw a faint blush on his face. I smiled. We walked out the door. I think I'm going to cry. We found this baby rabbit, and he's really hurt. He still needs his mother's milk, and he got attacked. We think he might need to be put to sleep. I'm sad. And he's downstairs now. We're waiting for the vet to come and take a look at him. This is why the chap is so short. Anyway, please go on my poll. It will determine a big part in the story. Thanks for reading. Betrayal of Friends. Okay, thanks for the reviews, I love them. And thanks for voting on my poll. If you haven't voted on it, could you please vote on it? The next chap is when I will write down what will happen with Hinata and Shikamaru, so yeah, if you want your vote to count, put it in now. That would be awesome. On with the chap. We walked around the festival. It was crowded and busy. I saw many people. I tried to look for people I might know. I saw a few. Kurenai-sensei and Asuma-sensei. They said they didn't go out, but I have to disagree with that. I think they're in love with each other. I saw Jiraiya and Sanada. Of course Jiraiya looked like he was trying to stalk her in a friendly, non-perverted way. I saw Sasuke too. Fangirls were staring at him. He was ignoring them though. Sakura was approaching him and began to talk to him politely. He began to talk with her. I saw a smirk cross his face. And I saw he was looking at the fangirls. The face showed disappointment and anger as they glared at Sakura. I giggled. Naruto looked at me. What's so funny, He asked, smiling, a beautiful smile that could have melted my heart. If I liked him, that is. Look at Sasuke's fangirls, I told him. He immediately frowned when I said Sasuke's name. I frowned too. Look, if you don't want to go to the festival with me, it's okay. I'm used to it. Naruto said sadly, forcing a smile onto his face. I blinked in confusion. Then I got what he meant. No, it's not like that. I just thought it was funny. That's all. I don't like Sasuke. I said, waving my hands in front of me. He frowned a bit, but then his face softened. Sorry, I guess I'm a bit nervous. He said. His sweat dropped. I laughed. It's fine, I understand since I used to be a fangirl and all. I burst out laughing. And Naruto laughed too. We didn't attract any stares for some reason, but I guess that's because everyone was so happy with their own date. We walked on. We played tons of games. It was very fun. Then for a moment, I thought I saw Hinata, but then I didn't see her. So it must have been my imagination. I bet it wasn't, my inner me said. But I barely heard her. I was too busy having the time of my life with Naruto. Hinata, I couldn't believe it. My idol was going out with another girl. I couldn't believe that childhood crush was going out with my friend. Yamanaka and Naruto Uzumaki. I ran. I went to the park. Very few people were there, but people were there nonetheless. I went to the training grounds. No one was there. I sat down and cried the tears that I was trying hard to hold back. Why couldn't Naruto with me? I asked myself. I had asked this question over and over again. But now, it was Ino and not Sakura that made me worry. I just couldn't believe it. I sat there and cried. Shikamaru. I was following Ino around everywhere. Luckily she had not noticed me yet. I saw her eyes straight at Sasuke once. And this one time I thought she saw me, but it turned out she was looking at Hinata instead. Hinata ran off. I couldn't help but feel sorry for her. She wanted to be with Naruto so badly. But instead Ino was there. Oh well. I was trying to prevent her and Naruto from being together. I have already thought of a plan, I just needed the right opportunity to put it in action. I saw them talking, laughing, holding hands, having fun. Oh well. I had to wonder why I was doing this. I had to constantly remind myself that the lake water was just getting to her head, and I needed to stop it. And the best way to stop it was to get her away from Naruto. And I saw my opportunity. Sakura was coming up to Ino to talk, while Naruto went into the restroom. I saw Sasuke behind Sakura, patiently waiting for her. I went in the restroom too. I waited a bit, and when Naruto came out of the stall and washed his hands and stuff, I walked up to him. "Naruto," I said. He turned around. "Oh, hi Shikamaru," he said, smiling. I stuffed my hands in my pockets. "Listen, I need to talk to you in private," I said. He nodded. I walked out of the restroom. Ino had her back to the entrance. "Let me just go tell Ino, okay?" Naruto said, walking to where Ino and Sakura were talking. "No," I said firmly. He turned around. I curious and confused expression on his face. "Why not?" he asked. "This can't wait, Naruto, it's really important," I said seriously. He probably saw how serious I was by the look on my face. He nodded and followed me. I stopped at the back of the ramen shop. I faced him and told him the truth. The truth that would hurt him, but had to be told for his safety, and he knows. "Naruto, I'm going to tell you the truth, nothing but the truth," I sighed. Oh, how troublesome this was. "Ino doesn't like you, she only is going out with you because she thinks she likes you. It's because of the lake water. I'm sorry. But that's the truth," I said. Naruto stared at me, hurt in his eyes. He was stone still. "I'm sorry, I just didn't want you to be hurt by Ino telling you when she went back to normal. I thought it would be better this way," I said. He looked at me with sadness and despair in his eyes. He forced a smile on his face. "It's okay, you were just trying to help me. Like a fellow shinobi would do." There was a very awkward silence between us. "I guess I'll go to the festival without Ino," Naruto said softly. I was left there. I walked out and walked a bit. Then I found Ino. I smiled. "Hi Ino," I said. She looked very angry. "Ino." I went looking for Naruto when he didn't come out. Thanks to Sasuke, who told me he wasn't in there, I went looking for him. I went straight to the ramen shop. Because I knew he loved ramen. I asked the shop owner. He said he saw him and Shikamaru go behind the shop. I was surprised to hear that. I mean, he is my best friend, but still. I went back and to my horror heard what Shikamaru was saying to Naruto. Nothing but the truth, I heard him say. He sighed. "Ino doesn't like you, she only is going out with you because she thinks she likes you. It's because of the lake water. I'm sorry. But that's the truth," I heard Shikamaru say. My eyes widened. How dare he, it actually might be true, I might like Naruto. I ran to the front of the shop and waited. I didn't want to hear anything else. After a bit I saw Naruto come out. He looked sad and depressed. I felt sorry for him. I wanted to talk to him, comfort him. But right now, I wanted to give Shikamaru a piece of my mind. Yes, why should Shikamaru ruin your love life? If he really was your friend, then why did he ruin your date? My inner me asked. I gritted my teeth. I clenched my fists and felt my whole body shake from rage and anger. "I hate you, Shikamaru Nara," I screamed it in my head. If I were you, I would want to kill him right now. And I agreed with her. I went down the alley and saw Shikamaru coming up it. He smiled and said hi to me like nothing had ever happened. Those made my hatred and anger grow even more. "Ino, what's wrong?" he asked. His eyes widened. I felt a throbbing in my chest. And I blacked out. "Shikamaru. Ino, what's wrong?" I asked. She glared at me. "If looks could kill, I'd be lying in a coffin right now. Me thinking I could trust you," she yelled. My eyes widened. How could she have found out so quickly? She winced and blacked out. At least I think she did. Her body went limp, but it was still up. I felt a huge wave of chakra. Her eyes opened. They were now blood red. I didn't even have to look at her to tell I was in big trouble. Haha, Siffy. Okay, listen people. I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks. I'm going on vacation in 4 days. This might be the last update for a while. I'll update as soon as I can when I get back. Have a great summer. And for those of you who want to know, the rabbit had to be out to sleep. Taught. Saving 2 friends. Hi people. I'm back, obviously. My vacation lasted longer than I thought it would. Honestly, no one tells me anything anymore. Oh well, on with the chap. Shikamaru. The chakra was so strong, I thought it could have knocked me out if it were any stronger. It almost did then. Where does she get all this chakra? I asked myself. But before I could come up with an answer, my instincts got control and I ran. It took me a minute to realize why I was running, instead of fighting. I needed to fight because with that strong chakra she could easily kill people without a second thought, even if it was by accident. But then I got control of my thoughts and instantly thought that she was my comrade, friend, and she was angry because of me. Troublesome. I was running because of those 3 things. But I knew I needed to face her, but I also knew the chances of me dying would be very high. So it all came down to this, I needed help, and fast. I sped down the street. For some reason there weren't any ninjas around right now. Just my luck, this is very troublesome. I thought bitterly. I saw then out of the corner of my eye someone I did know. Naruto. I stopped in my tracks and started running towards him. He looked sad, like he was suffering. I felt a wave of guilt come over me. But I had to let him know what was going on. I looked around as I ran over to him. He didn't seem to notice me. Nobody was in the streets. I heard music in the background. It must be time for the dance competition, I thought. Well, at least something is going pretty well. Naruto. I called. He slowly looked up. His eyes were wet. I felt really guilty, but proceeded to tell him what was going on. Naruto, listen. I'm sorry, I don't know if I was right or wrong about Ino. I just had a hunch, but... Shikamaru, I heard two people say behind me. I looked round, as I felt a pair of eyes burning into my head. I gulped. There was Ino Yamanaka. I didn't see the second person, but I knew that one Ino would be enough to finish me. There seemed to be a black evil aura coming from her chest, but I couldn't see it. Ino, Naruto whispered. Before I could tell Naruto anything, Ino was there in front of me. Her eyes were half open, but from the part of her eyes that I could see, they were black. She punched me over and over again. Each time she did, I would hurtle backwards. After maybe the 10th punch, my back hit a wall. It hit it with so much force. It was so painful. She picked me up by the throat before I had time to get up, let alone run or attack. She was strangling me. I couldn't breathe, but I could hear her though she muttering things. We thought we could trust you. You betrayed us. We would have gotten along fine if you hadn't hurt us. That time I was sure I heard two voices, but I paid little attention to it. I was trying to get out of her death grip around my neck. She threw me to the ground with amazing strength. I landed a foot away from Naruto, who was looking wide-eyed and confused at the situation. Naruto, get help. Stop her please, I whispered to him. Ino was kicking me into the ground before I even finished the word please. I couldn't fight back. I was weakened too much. I could tell that she was using chakra in her punches and kicks. And I couldn't just fight her, even if I was in full strength. She was my friend. We are comrades. If I hurt her on purpose during training, I felt bad, but during a real battle, I think I would be in just as much pain as I was in now, except mentally. And now you die, she yelled. She threw me in the air with inhuman strength and punched me, like how you would serve volleyball. Except, I was a ball. I hit another wall. I made a dent in the wall. She disappeared and reappeared in front of me. She picked me up by my neck again, and I could tell I was going to die. Ino? I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I was dreaming. I was floating in someone's body, and whoever's body it was, they were hurting Shikamaru. I was horrified with this person. How dared they hurt my teammate? Hey, stop hurting him, I yelled, but I didn't hear my voice. Instead I heard my inner self's voice. I looked around wide-eyed. Inner me? I asked quietly. I still heard her voice. What? Something snapped. It was my voice. What's going on? I asked in a stubborn tone. Inner, I began again. My name isn't Inu, she yelled at me. And I saw a woman with long waist, long black hair, and hazel eyes. This was begging to creep me out. My name's Naor, the woman said. I blinked. Naor, I said quietly to myself. Yes, that's my name. Is there something wrong with that? She asked snidely. No, I said obviously. Man, is she annoying, I thought. Then I heard it in the body we were both in my voice this time. This is my body, I yelled in my thoughts. Yes, she said calmly. I looked through the two circles, which were half closed, but I could see enough. My body was strangling Shikamaru. We thought we could trust you, she said quietly. I heard my voice again, except it was on the outside of my body, and it was mixed with her voice. You betrayed us. We would have gotten along fine if you hadn't hurt us, she continued. Stop it, I cried out. No, she said, turning to me. I looked desperately at the situation. Mountain friend was going to die because of my inner self, because of Naor. Please, I said. Then I heard Shikamaru say something. Naruto, get help. Stop her please. Naruto's there, I said. I felt tears well up in my eyes. Naruto was watching me. He was actually there, witnessing me out of control. Me being a monster. Ino? Naor asked. She sounded concerned, but right now I didn't care, and even if I did, I don't think it would have been real concern, probably just a fake feeling. I looked at her. Why are you doing this? I asked. My voice was a bit cracked, as I was trying not to look weak and powerless in front of her. She looked frustrated, and a bit mad too. Like I was missing the obvious. It's not like I want to do this. I could barely hear her, it was so faint. What do you? I gasped suddenly. My sadness was replaced by panic. And now you die, my body yelled at him. And Shikamaru was thrown in the air and punched into a wall. No, please, stop, I screamed at her. I'm sorry, she said, but her back was turned. I couldn't see her feelings in her eyes, like most shinobi can. So I presumed it was false pity. But then something happened that didn't happen before, and I totally didn't expect. Naruto grabbed my arm. He looked angry, but didn't say anything. He somehow managed to pull my hand from Shikamaru's neck. My body flinched at his touch. I could feel the force and strength of his hand on my arm. Wait, I can feel what's happening to me. And for a moment I felt hope. I used that hope, I wouldn't let it go to waste. I tried to fight back to my body, to gain control. Naruto. I knew what I had to do. But I didn't know if I should. But hearing Shikamaru's plea gave me a bit of confidence, a bit of hope. But, unfortunately, I still had doubts. But seeing Shikamaru on his deathbed, because of his friend, that was enough to put me in action. I ran to them. I grabbed Ino's arm. I didn't want to hurt her, or hurt Shikamaru even more. I was angry at myself for not taking some action before, but I didn't know what to do, with Shikamaru telling me Ino didn't like me, and then Ino attacking him for no reason. It was way too confusing. She flinched. I was worried for a second that I hurt her, but she seemed unscathed. I pulled her away from Shikamaru, who was now unconscious. But when her hand left his throat, he gasped for air. He was alive, but, like I thought, unconscious. I looked at Ino, and she looked frustrated. Like she was still fighting something. Like me sometimes. With the Kyuubi. I thought. That's when I thought of something. The changes, the sudden chakra, the mark Sasuke told me about, it all made sense now. I looked down, and I knew, the demon side of her was winning. I had a hunch how to help her, but I didn't know if it would work. But I knew it was her only chance now, her only hope. Ino? Stop fighting this, Leora yelled at me. You're going to lose anyway, she said coldly. She looked a bit sympathetic towards me. She was right though, no matter how much I tried. I started to lose that hope I had only moments ago. I looked out the circles, where the eyes were supposed to be. And I saw Naruto looking at me as if he had just figured out something, as if all his questions had all been answered. And then something happened that I didn't expect, something I never would happen for a million years. Naruto Uzumaki kissed a girl. Naruto Uzumaki kissed me, Ino Yamanaka. Finally done with this chapwood. Hope you guys liked it. Especially the ending. This is not the ending in case any of you are wondering. Well, see ya in the next chap. Chapter 16. I hope you all liked the last chap. I needed to update. I was arguing with myself, sometimes saying update quick XD. But I didn't know if I should. But in the end I did update it quick than usual. Well, I was very pleased with the reviews. Anyway, on with the chap. Naruto. I gulped. I wasn't sure if I should do it, but I knew there was practically no other choice, or else I might hurt her physically. I slowly leaned in closer and kissed her. I didn't know what to expect from it. I just wanted Ino back. But when I did it, I felt a little spark. Something like excitement. Or maybe it was panic that someone was watching, or if it wouldn't work. But I did feel something. I wasn't sure what it was though. My eyes were closed in the beginning, afraid what I might see if I opened them. Would I see some emotion in those black eyes? Hate maybe. Fury. Anger. Fear. The possibilities were endless now. But I had to open them. If it didn't work, she could attack, and that would definitely be bad. I slowly opened my eyes. And that when I noticed it. It worked. I was so happy, but when I opened my eyes I noticed something else. Ino was kissing me back. Me, Naruto Uzumaki, the class clown, failure and knuckle-headed ninja. The person with the worst reputation ever. I couldn't believe it. I thought she must still be the bad and evil Ino, trying to lure me into a trap or something. But she didn't have that evil aura around her chest anymore. She didn't have that huge chakra either. I was confused. Ino? As I realized that he was kissing me, everything sort of faded away. It was like it was melting and fading at the same time. And then I saw nothing. Just darkness. But I felt. I could feel things. I could feel my dress I was wearing, the cold night air on my skin, and Naruto's lips on mine. Of course this kiss had only lasted about 3 seconds. Believe it or not, time just seemed to move so slowly though. I don't know why I did what I did next. I just felt this feeling come over me. This feeling of desire. I needed to be with him, right then and there. But I did. I kissed back. I couldn't really remember anything, it was all a blur. But right then and there, it was only me and him. Me and Naruto. Ino and Naruto. But my desire didn't last long. He broke off the kiss. The kiss seemed to be endless. It had to be endless. But when he broke the kiss, I came back to my senses. I blushed a deep scarlet. What came over me? I didn't know what though. And again, I seemed to be slipping into darkness, into unconsciousness. And then there too I whispered faintly, before I passed out. Naruto. I broke the kiss after about 3 seconds of confusion. All confusion went away. It was like I was only dreaming it. The kiss, the spark, the fear. But Shikamaru was unconscious, and Ino was weak and seemed dazed. So it had to have been real. And then there too, she whispered. Her eyes, the hazel eyes, not the black ones, were going out of focus. And she went limp. She too, like Shikamaru, was unconscious. I laid her down, very carefully. I heard footsteps. I looked around, and there was a townsperson, an elderly man. He had an emotion in his eyes. An emotion I hated. When directed at me. Fear. But I had to ask for help. My friends were hurt, maybe dying. Hey, help me please, but I was cut off in mid-sentence. Help, help, there's been an attack. Healed. As if they were there all the time, only they were invisible. People came, ninjas, and regular people. All coming from the center of the town. What happened? Asked another man, about in his 40s. That monster, he said, pointing at me, attacked these people. And I got it. He was elderly, old. He knew I had the Kyubi. That's why he was blaming me. Even though he had no proof. Everyone looked at me, emotion written on their faces. Anger, pity, shame, fear, hate. It hurt to look at all those hard emotions that were all directed at me. Hold on. A voice came from the rooftops. Do you have any proof? I looked up. And there was Kakashi-sensei. I beamed at him. I was glad he was on my side. No, but because he's a monster, he had all the advantages to attack. He said back. I don't believe he did it. A voice from the crowd said. Another man was struggling to make it to me. It was Iruka-sensei. But you know what he is. He could have done it for sure. He cried back. I believe the old guy. Came another voice from the crowd. There were murmurs of agreement. How can you? You have no proof. Came another voice. Then a total outbreak began. People were arguing, and everything was chaotic. Ninjas tried to break it up, but some ninjas were in the fight as well. Hey, what about Shikamaru Dino? I yelled. But no one heard me. There was too much commotion. Then all of a sudden there was a huge ball of light above that came from the rooftops. It was a huge ball of fire. The two mysterious people jumped down from the roofs, along with Kakashi-sensei. Now listen, I am Sasuke Uchiha. I am part of the ambush squad. I want all medic nin to get these two off to hospital, and I want everyone else to go home. Except for my ambush squad, they will patrol, in case of any mischief. There was some pause, but a death glare from Sasuke sent them on their way. They all did what they were supposed to. Sasuke, thanks. I said while some medics were busy with Ino and Shikamaru. I saw that Sakura was working on Shikamaru, since he had the worst wounds, but she gave very concerned looks at her best friend. I felt a pang of guilt. But what could I do? It wasn't my fault. Besides, I saved them. And unfortunately, it was all because of Ino. Okay, done. I hope you liked it, review, and you'll get cookies XD. See you next chap. Help comes. Okay, hi people. Lol, remember last chap, I said I would give the reviewers free cookies. Well, here they are. Gives cookies to Dragon Whipchim, Bumblemark, Cries and Shrockshire Socks, and Streeter Sir Skirt. Okay. Now that's done with, on with the chap. Sakura. We all went down to the Hokage Tower. The Hokage was out, but we still went down there. It was a tradition of the leaf. We all danced, and we did some karaoke too. Of course Sasuke would have said no. And I would have done it too, if Ino was there. But Ino was nowhere in sight. I smiled a triumphant smile. Because I didn't see Naruto, either. And since they were dates, they had to be together. I could imagine them laughing, talking, maybe even kissing. I giggled to myself at that. It was too early to kiss yet, plus Naruto had never been a real relationship before. So it didn't surprise me that they didn't show up here. They were probably embarrassed, not ready to go out in public, or were just getting to know each other. They weren't they timid and calm type though. Ino and Naruto could be pretty wild at times. So I guess they were laughing and talking. I grinned, my friends were going out with each other. How cool was that? We could all go out on a double date, and then we could all okay, I hadn't got that far in my planning, but I knew it would be cool. Sakura. My name being said brought me out of my thoughts. You, I said turning towards the voice. It was Sasuke. I blushed a bit. He looked irresistible in the moonlight. But I didn't say anything. I didn't want a whole life replay of when he was here, before he went to Orochimaru. He studied my face for a while. Did you just feel something? He asked. Feel what? Sasuke. We were standing by a wall. We weren't talking, I liked it that way. And Sakura didn't seem to mind the silence either. I leaned against the wall, my hands in my pockets. I was in my usual stance. Nothing special, but to the fangirls, I was like a dream come true. I didn't know why. I betrayed my village, killed Orochimaru, and was close to killing Itachi. What on earth did they see in me? I heard a giggle. I looked at Sakura, I knew it was hers. She giggled a lot, it was obvious it was hers. She was looking down, and had a distant look on her face. I figured she was thinking of something. I figured it had something to do with me. But she didn't flirt anymore. That's the friendly hi Sasuke. Or nice to see you today, and then she would go off on her business. But if that business was with me when we were going on a mission or something, she wouldn't flirt. She would just concentrate on the mission. I liked that about her. It was very nice. And she seemed more rebellious sometimes than flirtatious with me. Yes, I like that too. I closed my eyes and relaxed. I wasn't going to dance or take part in these events, so why should I watch them? Then I felt something. It was a huge wave of chakra. My eyes shot open. I looked around for the source. I couldn't find it with my regular eyes, and people didn't seem to notice. I didn't want to turn on my Sharingan and find out I was being paranoid. At least not yet. but I did feel a huge wave of chakra. At first I thought of Naruto, when he had that extra inhuman chakra. I remembered it from when he tried to bring me back. But this felt different. It felt more cold and dark. Not hot and bright like Naruto's chakra, which seemed to resemble fire. Sakura, I said. I needed to know from someone else. But maybe Sakura wasn't the best choice. Because she wasn't paying attention to anything. She seemed to shoot back to reality. She looked at me. "You're?" she asked. She blushed a bit. I figured that. She probably was thinking about me then. But I didn't say anything about that. I studied her face. I tried to find any sign that would show that she felt that chakra. I didn't find anything, but I asked anyway. "Did you feel something?" I asked. She looked confused. "Feel what?" she asked. "I just felt a huge wave of chakra," I said after a while. I was contemplating if I should tell her, but I did. "Sasuke, I didn't feel anything," she said, shrugging. But I saw concern in her eyes. "Chen." That was all I said. At least before I noticed a Sharingan user behind me. "Kakashi-sensei," I said in acknowledgement. "Sasuke," he said. "I think you felt something earlier, right?" he asked. I smirked. I knew I felt something. "Yeah," I said, in a pretty bored tone. "I think we should invest." Help, there's been an attack." Heal at that point. I turned on my Sharingan. Sakura was on the roof before me or Kakashi could find out where the faint voice came from. But we jumped up on the roof too. I scanned the area. And I pointed in that direction. A lot of people seemed to run to the area without us even telling them where they were. "Kakashi." We were heading for the street where Naruto usually ate his ramen. When we got there, people were already there. It was surprising. But then again, Konoha people were not ordinary people. I heard what an old guy was saying. "That monster," he said, pointing at Naruto, "attacked these people." I couldn't help but feel sorry for Naruto. He had a hurt expression on his face. I knew he didn't create the wave of chakra, but who could have? Shikamaru was beat up, so it wasn't him. So it was either Ino or someone else who could have run off. "Hold on." I called down to the people. "Do you have any proof?" Naruto looked up at me. He grinned at me. The old man just said that he was a monster. I was going to retort to this, but someone beat me to it. It was Iruka. "I don't believe he did it," he told the crowd. And eventually, an argument broke out, and that argument turned into a street fight. "Hey, what about Shikamaru Dino?" Naruto yelled. That when Sasuke took over. He did his fireball jutsu. We all jumped down. This was our cue to get some order here. "Now listen, I am Sasuke Uchiha. I am part of the Anbu squad. I want all medic nin to get these two off to hospital, and I want everyone else to go home. Except for my Anbu squad, they will patrol, in case of any mischief." People went after a moment's hesitation. I looked at Sakura. She wanted to go over to Ino, but she went to Shikamaru. His injuries were a lot worse. "Sakura." I knew Shikamaru had worse injuries. But Ino was my best friend. But I knew what Sanada would do. So I ran over to Shikamaru. He had a few broken ribs, a broken leg, a sprained arm, and a fractured ankle. I immediately tried to heal this. I glanced at Ino every so often. I didn't know what to think now. Ino was beat up. And I didn't know if Naruto did it or someone else did. I was confused. I glanced at Naruto. He had a guilty look on his face. I didn't know what to think. But I just knew that whoever did it was in deep trouble. Done with the chat. Review please. Thanks. The shock of Naora. Thanks for all your reviews. I love it when I get them. Lol. On with the chat. No one's pov. Everyone was wondering what happened that night. Naruto refused to tell anyone, not even his best friends and sensei, until Ino woke up. Shikamaru went into a coma. The doctors think he won't make it. Everyone felt sorry for him. He was Konoha's smartest ninja, even if he was lazy, and he succeeded in so many missions. And he had been a friend and a loyal comrade. And people didn't even know. They did this to him. It was very tragic for all the people who knew him, and sad for people who heard the story. He was attacked, and his two friends were the only ones there. So people thought his trustworthy friends had attacked him, and tried to kill him. Everything seemed to be going wrong now. And half the village hates Naruto, because he's the prime suspect in this. While the other half are saying he's innocent, and that it wasn't his friends but someone else. And as for Ino, well, she wasn't going to wake up for another 4 days. 4 days later. Ino. I saw light. I squinted at it. Where was I? It was dark just a moment ago. What happened? I felt a searing pain in my head. I ignored it though. As my eyes adjusted to the light, I looked around. I was in a hospital. I had a tube attached to my wrist, and I supposed that it was either giving me nutrients and vitamins, or medicine. But then my head hurt. Yeah, I think it was nutrients and vitamins. But there was something wrong here. Why was I here? I tried to rack my brain. But nothing came. I looked around. I saw a clock. I tried to move, but my muscles ached too much. It was about 10 a.m. But I couldn't see exactly what it said. My eyesight wasn't focusing, it kept on getting fuzzy, then it went clear again, but then it went fuzzy again. Do I need glasses? Is that why I'm in the hospital? Hey inner me, do you remember what happened last night? There was silence for a moment. Inner me? I asked. I highly doubt I was in the hospital because I needed glasses. I would have just gone to Sakura so she could check them without the hassle. Or I would have gone to the eye doctor. I waited for inner me just a little bit more. Did she leave? Is that possible? And no, I made cheer. Sorry. She said in a quiet voice. Are you alright? You sound a little down, I asked. I was concerned for her. I mean, like it or not, she was a part of me. Yes, I'm that fine. Just a little upset over personal reasons. And ourselves have personal reasons. Yes, she replied softly. Okay, well, if you need anything, I'm right here. I was trying to be helpful to her. I liked having her around. She was a nice comfort to have. But for now, I needed to figure out something. Why the heck am I here? Naoru Ino's inner self. I felt horrible. Ino would sacrifice her life for her friends. She had a perfect life. Everything was okay. I looked through her memories, which were available to me. Whenever I wanted. I looked at a couple of girls, one had pink hair, another had pupilless eyes, another had her hair into buns, and knew that I hadn't seen through Ino's eyes, a girl with 4 ponytails. I looked at another memory, she was with her family, laughing and joking, and hugs. In another, she was with a large group of kids. Including herself, there were 15 kids in total. 8 looked about her age, 3 looked about 1 year older, and another 3 come from another village, I could tell from the headbands. As I looked through memories I saw her grow up into the fine young lady she's now. I felt tears well up in my eyes. She had friends, she had a loving family, she had crushes, she had beauty, and she was outspoken. Everything that a child could want. But then I came in and took that all away. I changed her. I felt guilty, I felt like a monster. And I felt jealousy. But I couldn't help it, I wanted to be like her, when I was her age. Do I need glasses? Is that why I'm in the hospital? Hey inner me, do you remember what happened last night? I hadn't realized she woke up. I looked down at my feet as she pondered. Inner me? She asked. I bit my lip, trying to subdue the tears that were falling. I didn't want her to know I existed anymore, but what could I do? She knew I was here. Did she leave? Is that possible? I heard her think. And no, I made cheer. Sorry. I stuttered, trying to make sure she wouldn't hear my crying. Are you alright? You sound a little down. I felt her emotions come through her head, like a wave that had come from the ocean and was now washing over the sand. Her emotion was concern for me. I was touched, but I now felt guilt and my sadness grow even more. In fact, a little down didn't even describe half of what I was feeling now. I felt like a black hole, sucking every bit of sadness and worriment, jealousy, guilt, right into my heart. Yes, I'm that fine. Just a little upset over personal reasons. That was a lie. I tried to sound as convincing as I could, but I didn't even convince myself. And ourselves have personal reasons. She asked. I could hear and feel the worriment in her thoughts and feelings. Yes, I replied softly. She had no idea. Okay, well, if you need anything, I'm right here. I nodded, but I knew she didn't expect an answer. But as soon as I made sure she couldn't hear me, I collapsed into a fit of sobs. I didn't want to do it, but I had to. To protect her, and so I can finally get out of this trap, cage, whatever it is. I felt like I should die right then, but then I remembered, with an agonizing realization, like all the other times I thought of it, I already was dead. I just needed to move on, to where all the other spirits go. I needed to go to the afterlife. But the whole point to my sobs and sadness was that can't remember anything. She doesn't even remember the festival. Her first kiss. Nothing, just shopping with her friends. I couldn't get rid of her new highlights. Like I tried to get rid of everything else, so I could help her. But sometimes, to help the people that you trust and love, you need to make sacrifices. And that's why I felt guilty, because I sacrificed her memories. I erased Ino's memory. Read this if you read painful contenters stories. I'm continuing girl, all the bad guys want, so look out for it. Okay, when I said to help the people you trust and love, she's not gay, she just thinks of Ino as a friend. Review please. Friends no matter what. I am so sorry for not updating in a week. I am so sorry for not updating in a week. My computer broke down, and I couldn't write anymore. So now I'm using my friend's computer. So if you haven't guessed, updates will be slower, not because I want them to be, but because of a stupid computer virus, and a slow and old computer. On with the chap. Naruto. Everyone was glaring at me for the past 4 days. I tried to tell them it wasn't me, but then after I thought about it, who would I blame if they asked who did it? I didn't want to hurt her, or make her life stressful. In any way, I cared for her. A lot. My crush on Sakura had faded away gradually, and when Ino asked me to go to her house for dinner, I felt a bond. I opened up to her, and then, I wanted to spend time with her. And when we were going to the festival together, I thought that my heart would fly out of my chest. I was so happy. I was in bed thinking about all these things. I got out of bed, got dresses, and ready for the day to come. I decided to go to Ichiraku's for breakfast, although Sakura said that it isn't healthy for me to eat ramen for breakfast, let alone for all 3 meals of the day. I decided to eat ramen anyway. I knew that ramen wouldn't lift my mood, with everyone hating me, the girl I like being possessed and in the hospital. It was hard to be happy these days. As I sat down and ordered my ramen, I thought about Ino. I knew she would get better, and Shikamaru would too, because Sananda was coming. Shikamaru. He was in a coma, and all because I didn't do something fast enough. If I had gone after Ino sooner, he wouldn't be in a coma, he wouldn't be possibly on the brink of death. I just froze up when I saw Ino in the evil form, when she had no control. Looking back, I know I did the wrong thing. I was sitting at the far end of the restaurant, next to the wall. 3 girls were at the other side of the restaurant. They were snickering and gossiping to each other. I ignored them. I was getting used to them. When my ramen came, I ate it slowly. I didn't taste it, I just ate it. I couldn't taste it, I was too wrapped up in my thoughts about Ino and Shikamaru. Everything around me was just there, and I didn't pay any attention to it at all. When I was done with my 1 bowl of ramen, I paid and went out. I usually had 10 to 20 bowls, but today I was feeling horrible. And I felt like I would never get better. I walked down the street slowly. I was thinking. I felt people glaring holes into my head. I didn't care, I just wanted Ino to be alright. She was all I could think about, apart from Shikamaru, but Ino was the main person in my head. But look, the monster decided to eat something else other than a boy and girl. A girl said. I stopped and turned around. There were the 3 girls from Ichiraku's ramen. I kept on walking after I saw who was talking. I walked to my apartment, slowly. Though, scared of 3 girls, and I thought you were supposed to be the most powerful shinobi ever. It was the second girl who said that, but I paid no attention. It got me annoyed, but I decided to let it go. I heard he was supposed to be Hokage someday. I bet he was planning to destroy the village. The last girl said loudly. That got me. But I didn't do anything. What could I do? If I did anything, people would hate me even more. Even if I just said something back. I felt tears coming up in my eyes. But they never fell from them, I was too good for that. Shinobi must never show any emotion at all. So I kept it all inside, with the rest of my pain. Hey. Who said he was a monster? He's very brave and courageous. He saved my life many times. That voice sounded very familiar. I turned around. And there was Hinata. I smiled at her. She smiled back. She was talking to the girls, but she had a crimson blush on her face. Well, how would you know? Retorted the first girl. I guess she was talking about me being brave and stuff. We went on missions, and he defended the village from the sound and the sand during the Chunin exams 3 years ago. She stated proudly. She barely stuttered. I was impressed. So? The girl asked again. Hinata, who had a fierce look on her face, when she said I was brave and I defended the village, was becoming less and less confident. Well. It means you don't appreciate what we ninjas are doing to protect you guys. Another voice said. I looked behind me, there was Chaoji. Well, everyone hates him. Screeched the second girl. No, his friends don't. I don't buy this. I thought Chaoji meant Rookie. 12. He smiled at me. I think I was right. I grinned. I was sure he would hate me, because both his teammates were in the hospital. But he just stood up for me. I don't either, Hinata piped up. There was one thing that I thought was okay about all this. Rookie 12 didn't hate me. They thought, and a lot of people said they knew I was innocent and didn't do it. I was grateful towards all of them. Thanks guys. I said as the girls left in a huff. No problem. Chaoji said. Hinata. Anything to help. I told him smiling. He grinned at us. I knew he liked Ino, and I was okay with that. As long as he was happy. Besides, when I was crying at the festival, I realized I didn't love him, I liked him as a friend. And he was my role model. I told Kiba what had happened after he found me crying beneath a tree that night. He was very nice towards me. I knew Kiba had a crush on me, I just didn't want to lead him on. But now, I was glad he liked me. Because maybe, I have gradually returning his feelings. Naruto. I was glad I had friends like them. I decided to go visit Ino, or Shikamaru. I went to the hospital. The nurses said that nobody could go see Shikamaru unless you were family. So I went to see Ino. When I got to her room she was lying down. At about 11 o'clock. I got closer. Her eyes were closed, so I sat next to her. I pulled a chair that was in the corner. It squeaked on the floor. I looked at her. Her eyes were still closed. I put the chair next to her. I looked at her. I reached for her hand and held it. She twitched. Oh Ino, I said absent-mindedly. Her eyes shot open. Naruto. She cried and hugged me. I was shocked, but hugged her back. Okay, if you don't like Hinata and Kiba together, sorry. I needed her to be with someone, so she wouldn't be sad when the story ends. Review, I like them. Truth and shock. Okay, we cannot fix my computer TT, so we are gonna have to get a new one. And I think I'm gonna have to do some paying in all this, cause I'll use it. On with the chap. You know? I decided to pretend I was asleep when I heard someone come down the hall. I was originally out of bed. A nurse did come in earlier and gave me a checkup, but I didn't ask anything. After she left I was looking at the medicines and stuff, so maybe I would know why the heck I was here. There were painkillers, and there were some pictures of my x-ray, or at least I think it was my x-ray, on various parts of my body. My heart, my lungs, my brain, and a couple bones. I was puzzled by all this. I needed x-rays. Well, there was a picture of my brain. Maybe I had amnesia. But I don't remember how, or why I'm here, that's it. It wasn't a huge chunk of my life. I remember Naruto, and Sakura, Hinata, and Tenten, my teammates and all the rest of Rookie 12. Maybe I had cancer. Suddenly, I heard a person coming down the hallway. I felt chakra actually. Not thinking who it was, I hurtled into bed, and tried to make sure I looked like I was sleeping. I didn't even think why I was in Konoha. I closed my eyes just as the door opened. I heard the guy go over get a chair, and it squeaked while he was getting it. I felt my hand being squeezed tightly. Oh, Ino mumbled a familiar voice. It was Naruto. I opened my eyes, and saw his beautiful face, his golden hair, sparkling eyes. I saw the boy I wanted to see most right now. I took it all in just one moment. Naruto, I cried. I flung my arms around him. He seemed surprised, but he hugged me back. We stayed like that for a long time. I don't know why, but he seemed not to want to let go, and I didn't mind in the least. But sometimes too much of a good thing is bad, even though I couldn't see how hugging the guy I love bad. But I slowly loosened my grip around his neck. He caught the hint and let go of my waist. There was silence. I was trying to ask how I got here, so I didn't sound stupid or idiotic, like I was trying to do on the phone for Sakura when I told her about my inner self. I could trust Sakura with that piece of information. Surely I could ask the man of my dreams why I was here, right? Yes, I could. But before I could open my mouth to speak, Naruto spoke. How are you feeling? He didn't look at me. He was looking at the white wall opposite us. Pretty good. Yourself? I asked. I guess he was trying to make polite conversation. I did take a pretty long time for me to think. Maybe he thought it was an awkward silence. It wasn't for me, but maybe it was for him. I mentally shrugged it off. I would ask the question when the opportunity arises, I guess. Fine. His voice seemed hollow. I didn't know why. But he was still looking at the wall, and his head was bent forward a bit, hiding his eyes in the shadow of his hair. Naruto, are you sure? I asked, concerned, putting my question aside. Right now I had to make sure he was okay. He looked at me for a second, like I was missing something. But he looked away at the wall again. Naruto. She's concerned for me. Why? I would be worried for myself. I mean, she got taken over by something, and I would be scared to death if it weren't for the fact that the Kyuubi can't do that. No, I said. She blinked, yes. She answered. She looked concerned again. Or what do you think of? I was referring to last night, when she got taken over. I didn't want her to have to regret anything, or be in pain, so I tried to lie this down gently. But the look she gave me was absolute confusion. I sighed. I didn't want to actually say what I meant. So I tried to hint what I was trying to say. Last night. I said. I tried to sound louder, but my voice came out in barely a whisper. Last night, she replied calmly. Oh yeah, I have a question. She said. I guess she was going to play dumb. That's okay. I mean, it's not every day you find out you're being taken over by some unknown force. I nodded my reply. Okay, well, she looked at the ceiling, as if looking to find the words in her head. After a pause, she began to talk again. Why am I here? She asked bluntly. My ears seemed to have switched off. She's kidding. How could she not remember why she was here? I thought she was playing dumb. I didn't think she would go so far as to pretend it didn't happen at all. Sorry, what was that? I asked. I looked at her for the first time. Man, she looked cute with her hair down. I said. Why am I here? She said again, looking down and blushing. She was so adorable when she did that. But now wasn't the time to think about that. I decided to question her. Maybe she was about to be taken over again. That would be bad. Who are your comrades? I asked. She blinked. Why? She asked, eyeing me curiously. I shrugged. She seemed to accept that as an answer, so she replied. Shikamaru and Chaoji, and my sensei is Asuma. She said. I nodded. I asked more questions, which she answered correctly, and in an Ino-like manner. It was when I got to a certain question I got worried. Okay, how did you get these changes, and in which order did you get them? I asked. She seemed to be getting annoyed, but she answered. I fell into a lake, and it had yucky mutated water in it. My hair had turned black, and my eyes turned dark green, then they turned hazel. Anything else? She asked, yawning. Anything else? What about her highlights? I noticed them, and I asked about them during the festival and everything. She said the lake water did it. Maybe she forgot, this was a recent change and all. What about your hair? I hinted. What about it? She asked. I stared at it. What did we do last night? I asked bluntly. Last night? I didn't see you last night. Remember? She asked. She giggled, like I was forgetful, or I was joking. I frowned at her. What the heck is going on? I asked myself, my brow creased. Ino? I said, with unexpected seriousness in my voice. She looked at me, and immediately stopped her fit of giggles. What was the last thing you did before you came to the hospital? I asked. She looked taken aback. SH shopping with Sakura, Hinata and Tenten. She told me. I tried to figure out what this meant, without her seeming to be crazy, but it all came down to one thing, Ino had completely forgotten. Can you excuse me for a moment? I said. She nodded. I walked out, and down the hall quietly, but when I was out of earshot I burst into a run. I ran down to the lobby, and asked for Sakura. They said she would be here in 2 minutes, since she was on time, or early. Thankfully, she was early, because she walked in the door just as I turned around to wait. Sakura, I yelled. Her reaction was instantaneous. She punched me in the face and yelled. What now? It's Ino. I cried. She immediately looked serious. What is it? She asked. She woke up, and... Great, I'll go see her. Sakura announced. She was more perky knowing Ino was awake. But that's not it. I cried. She sighed. Okay, what else? She asked, annoyed. I looked at her, with the utmost seriousness. She can't remember the festival, at all. I said. Suddenly I felt panic rise in me, but not for me, for Ino. Missing book. Okay, thanks for the reviews. I like them. Here's the next chap. Sakura. To say I was shocked would be an understatement. How could she not remember? I thought Naruto was lying, that he was joking. I didn't believe, wouldn't believe it, and couldn't believe it. My best friend had been there, in a life or death situation, and Shikamaru was too, and he was in a coma because he was there. Of course situations like that were expected to happen a lot when you're a ninja, but this happened in our own village. And Naruto was refusing to talk about it, or at least until Tsunade got here. Which should be any day now. Sakura, I'm serious. She doesn't remember. I asked her questions and everything. The last thing she remembers is going shopping with you, Tenten, and Hinata. He again looked serious. The look on his face would have seemed to make anyone believe him. But like I said before, I wouldn't believe him, at least not yet. Sakura, what does this mean? Is Ino okay? Is she in danger or something? Naruto continued after I had thought things over in my head. Maybe it was a temporary lose, or that she was fighting that thing or whatever it was that hurt Shikamaru and used her mind transfer jutsu, and her memories just had a little trouble getting back to her body when her mind went back. You're right, face a cutie, she lost him, and you don't have any idea why I saw my inner self smirk at me from the back of my head. I closed my eyes and ignored it. I'm going to go and talk to her. I said to Naruto, who was staring at me, begging for some sign of good news. His features immediately looked sad, disappointed, and glum, because I didn't give him the answer he needed, so he knew that the girl he liked, possibly loved, was going to get better. He tried to hide it though, with a false smile. Okay, tell me if she's okay or not. He didn't finish his sentence. He looked at the ground. I really hoped I wouldn't find anything bad. I didn't want to break the news to him, and I didn't want to see my best friend in the whole wide world be sick, and hurt, or worse. I walked up the stairs thinking about how much Ino liked Naruto, and vice versa. Trying to get the other depressing thought out of my head. They really did like each other. Ino was stubborn though, she didn't want to admit it, and Naruto, well, he was Naruto, loved sick, and couldn't bear to see her get hurt. But I had a nagging feeling that he didn't know that the feeling he felt in his heart was love. I quickly pushed away what I was thinking, when I came to Ino's door. I put on a cheerful smile, and opened the door. Ino? Oh my gosh. How are you? I asked, trying to sound like myself, the part that wasn't worried. Sakura? She laughed out. She had obviously not been paying attention when I opened the door. She looked positively shocked I was there. But she laughed and welcomed me in. Which I was going to do anyway. Did you see Naruto today? I asked, trying to sound casual. Yup, she giggled. I saw a faint blush on her cheeks. Ino, I'll be honest, I sighed. And thought. You look very weird in those hospital clothes. But I don't think I've ever seen your hair down before. It looks good. I said to her. I decided not to push my luck right at the beginning of our conversation. She grinned at me, but I always look good. She chuckled to herself. Nah, just kidding. I think I would like it better blonde, but whatever. She shrugged sheepishly. She always acted different around me than any other person in Konoha. Yeah. Okay, I needed to ask her soon. I was getting nervous. She is my friend. I want to protect her like I wanted to protect everybody else in the village. Just sitting around and acting like nothing was wrong was not my thing. I breathed in. Ino, what did you think of shopping? I asked. Okay, I'm wimping out of asking her straight on. She blinked. It was cool. She smiled at me. Man, now she was making me feel guilty. Yeah, I thought it was awesome too. I said. I sighed. This was hard. Get it over with, yelled my inner self. And for once, my inner self was right. I needed to ask, stalling wasn't gonna make it any easier. Okay, what did you think of the festival? I asked. I didn't look at her. I didn't want to see the confusion on her face. Sakura, that hasn't happened yet. She giggled. One thing went through my head now. Oh no. I said, turning to her. My eyes locked with hers. And she saw that I wasn't joking. Look at the time. We went shopping at 3 o'clock. It's now 11:30 in the morning of the next day. I cried out. She looked at the clock on the wall. And she looked at me. She looked scared. What happened? She asked. She looked frightened and positively confused. She didn't know what happened. But she got the message I was trying to say, but couldn't speak. Something happened to her. I shook my head sadly. We don't know. Is everyone okay? She asked, concerned. Her fear was still there, I could tell, but she was hiding it. I looked down. And then, no, I said. Sakura? She asked. I didn't look up. I didn't want to tell her. Sakura? She said desperately a second time. Sakura, who got hurt? Tell me. She screeched. Shikamaru. I whispered. I glanced up. She looked shocked, but if she knew he was in a coma, I bet she would cry her eyes out. How much damage was done to him? She asked. I didn't answer. Saku. Suddenly someone came in, out of breath and panting. It was a nurse who worked here. Sakura. Sonata has returned, she said. I turned around. I was glad of an excuse to get out. But Ino was still there, and she was still in pain. Just as I was about to close the door, I told her what was wrong. We're doing everything we can for him. Keep that in mind. But he's in a coma. And I closed the door, so I wouldn't see her cry. Sonata. I came back as soon as a messenger caught up to me. He told me what was going on, and I immediately came back. Even when I was out of the village, I couldn't get some peace and quiet. But there was an attack. And nobody knew what had happened. Except for Naruto, Shikamaru and Ino. But only one of those three were mobile and healthy enough to tell me what was going on. Or so I was told. Later, I learned Ino had woken up. I was told by a ninja who was in the hospital when Naruto yelled that Ino was awake. So, I gathered Rookie 12 together, except for Ino and Shikamaru for obvious reasons. And that takes us to what I was doing now. So, anyone know what happened? I asked. Everyone shook their heads solemnly. Except for Naruto. Okay, Naruto. What happened? I asked dryly, trying to not get ticked off when he would yell his answer for everyone from here to the land of fire to hear. But surprisingly, he just talked normally. Well, please don't think I'm trying to blame Ino for all this, but... Then Sakura walked in. She looked like she could cry her eyes out, but she held them in. Sakura, what's wrong? I asked, keeping in mind Naruto still hadn't answered. It's Ino. She sniffed. What about her? I asked, concerned. She. What's wrong with her? Asked Chaoji, obviously concerned, almost in panic. She can't remember. She doesn't remember anything about last night. She only remembers shopping with me, Tenten, and Hinata. She reported. Nobody noticed the crushed look on Naruto's face. What? I cried, standing up and disturbing a bottle of sake on my desk. It's true. I asked questions and everything. Naruto said. That's when I noticed how sad he looked. Sakura nodded, and she told us about her previous conversation with Ino. Okay. I said, rubbing my temples. Naruto, what happened last night? I continued. And then he told us everything. It stunned me. She seemed to have gotten possessed. It was oddly interesting. I got up and reached for a book that was on the shelf. Or supposed to be. I stared at the bookshelf, trying to find it, matching every spine of each book with the book cover in my memory. Shizune, I yelled. Everyone covered their ears. She came bustling through the door. Yes, Sonata? She asked. There is supposed to be a book, and it has something in it, legends to be precise. And a certain legend about a certain lake. I told her. Annoyance clear in my voice. Oh yeah, I think it's right here. She said, walking over to the shelf I thought it was in too, but wasn't. It should be here somewhere. She said, puzzled. It should. But it's not. I seed. I turned and looked at Rookie 12. Okay, everyone. Look for a book that's this big. I showed them the approximate size with my hands. And is green. I told them. They all stared at me, like they didn't know what I was talking about. Come on. Get moving, and look for the book. I ordered loudly. Immediately, Shino got out his bugs, and they were crawling around the higher books that were harder to get. Hinata and Niji were scanning the shelves with their Byakugan. Rock Lee was jumping up and down, trying to see the top shelves to find a match to my description. Naruto was using shadow clones to look faster, and some followed his lead and did the same. Sonata. Came a dull voice. Yes, Sasuke? I asked. I just wanted to tell you something about Ino. When I was delivering that brown box to her, I noticed she had a mark on her chest. He told. What kind of mark? I asked. He shrugged. I don't know, but it looks like this. He approached my desk and drew on a spare piece of paper that was on it. It looks sort of like that. I told her to get it checked out when you got back. That looks way too familiar, but that can't be right. Can it? I asked myself. Sonata. We looked everywhere, but we can't find the book, it's gone. Sakura told me. My back was turned from them. I bit my lip. It wouldn't get better unless we find that book. I told them. There was silence. Where do we look? Asked Naruto. I think I'm gonna cry, school starts tomorrow. TT is so sad. Well, I might as well get used to it. Review please. Loss again. Thanks for your reviews. I can't think of anything to say. Oh yeah, we got a new computer, so now it should be okay. Well, that's it, on with the chap. Neora, or Inari no. This was bad. No, this was exceedingly bad. I got rid of her memory. I didn't want to do it, but I did. I just wanted to protect her, like I wanted to protect the one I loved before he betrayed me. And this was getting very bad all the same. I wanted her memories gone, yes. But only from yesterday, at the festival, when my anger was so high. Shikamaru, her so-called friend, he ruined her relationship with Naruto. Her heart was broken, but she didn't feel it when my anger took over. But she doesn't remember, this was good. No. No matter how I wanted to be good, this is actually very bad. I didn't want her to feel the way I did in my last dying breaths. The last thing I saw was his face, pity written all over it. Nothing but pity. No love. No sadness. No guilt. Just pity. And even after I died, I loved him. I sighed, a long heavy depressed sigh, as I curled up in her mind and thoughts. I just wanted to make sure she wouldn't have her heart broken, like mine was, so many years ago. It was such a long time. Inner me, what happened? Ino asked from her thoughts. That's what I was afraid of. Ino? I had this throbbing headache when I woke up. Man, was I beat. I looked around. Where was I? I was in hospital. Why? I got up and looked in the mirror on the wall. My eyes were red and puffy, and I could see dried tears on my cheeks. I had been crying. And again, why? Why had I been supposedly crying? I walked around. I found a hair tie on the windowsill, so I put it on. Inner me, what happened? Maybe she knew it was worth a try. I don't know, I sleep when you sleep, her voice trailed off. Suspicious, but I bought it. If I didn't agree with her, it would be like arguing with me. Okay, I exaggerated. I looked around, again. I looked at the side table, next to the bed. On top, nothing I would need. Inside, the first drawer. A set of my usual clothes. Perfect. And my cell phone. There were some other things, but I didn't bother to look at what those were. I quickly dialed Sakura's number. She would know why I was here, or she could find out. Sakura. Sonata shook her head. Naruto, I don't know. I felt the whole Riki 12 have a depression come over them. Ring ring, ring ring. My phone, now. I mumbled. Sonata nodded her head. You're dismissed, I'll tell you what to do later, but for now, keep your eyes open for that book, and report anything suspicious. Like we didn't know that. I quickly picked up my phone. Yes? I asked bitterly. What a day, we can't help Ino, and no one has a clue, she lost her memory and… Hey, billboard brow. I screeched. Riki 12 was on the steps of the tower by now, and they all looked at me, eyes wide, squinted, and heads titled, depending the person. Who else? She teased. I know she was teasing about the forehead thing, so it must be her. Without a memory of yesterday. Hey, I have a question. All of Riki 12 was staring at me. I don't know why, I guess they wanted an update on how she was doing. Okay, what is it? I asked back, trying not to sound stressed. How could she act like this? She knows she lost her memory, why on earth would she seem so carefree? Why the heck am I here? I mean in the hospital, it's so strange, I woke up in the hospital, and it seemed like I was crying, and I had this throbbing headache, and… Wait, we already did this. I said, trying to ignore my inner voice. What do you know, the pig is as dumb as an animal, she lost her memory again. No we didn't, I just woke up. She giggled. What was the last thing you did? I asked quickly. This was bad, confusing, and upsetting. Oh yeah, you called and said we were going shopping. I almost dropped the phone. I felt like fainting. I felt queasy. This couldn't be happening all over again, in less than a couple hours too. No, I whispered. What was that? She asked curiously. Naruto, take the phone and talk to her. I yelled, tears staining my cheeks. I ran back up the stairs, while Naruto, in his shock, was stuttering a hello in the phone. Sonata. I cried. I didn't bother knocking, I just ran in, and didn't care if anyone was there. What now? She grumbled, she had been pacing, I could tell. It's Ino, she's lost her memory. Again. I yelled, of course Riki 12 had caught up to me, and heard what I was saying. How do you know this? She asked, curiosity and suspicion melted together on her face. She called me, and I continued to explain what had happened. What do we do? I asked, after I told everything. By now Naruto was at the phone with Ino and was paying rapt attention to this. She looked at me, she was so serious when it came to the well-being of the village. Go to her, all the girls go to her. I'll tell the boys what we need to do and they'll fill the girls, and Sonata told us strictly, and that's what we did. Even though Naruto protested. When they got to Ino. Hi Ino. I said, smiling warmly at her. She needed comfort right now, even if she didn't know what was going on. Hey, how are you doing? Asked Tenten. She grinned. It's nice to see you, Ino, Hinata said quietly. What else were we going to say? Hi, how's life? Did you know you don't remember a bit of it, and we don't know what's wrong with you? No, that would be bad. Well, I'm doing well. She began cheerfully. Now tell me, why the heck am I here in the hospital? She continued. Well, you tell us. Tenten suggested. I banged her on the head. Shut up. I hissed in her ear. Why you are here for now, Hinata began. Well, it worked out in the beginning. My inner me said. You shut up too. Check up. You see Yukinta went all weird on us, so we're checking your chakra flow and your blood and all that fun stuff. I told her. Oh, okay. She answered, puzzled by why we didn't come out and say something straight away. I can't wait to go shopping. Squealed Ino. Us three who remembered going shopping a couple days ago all thought the same thing at the same time. Yeah, it was fun. Sorry Ino. Yeah, I see can't wait. Hinata answered, smiling a small shy smile. Me neither. We will look so good in front of those boys, they wouldn't be able to take their eyes of us. I told them, trying to make it sound as if it didn't already happen. Yeah, well you know me, I don't like shopping, but I absolutely love hanging out with my friends. Tenten said. Her eyes soft. It didn't seem like a Tenten thing to do, but under the circumstances, I could understand. Oh, thanks Tenten. Ino purred. No problem, she said smiling. No, really. You guys all came, even when it was just a checkup, you guys are the best. It was like she wanted us to feel guilty. And it was working. Well, it's our JJ job as why you're friends. Hinata told her. This is true. She grinned at us. Yeah, but still. She flicked her phone open. Got up and made huddle in a line together. Say cheese. She grinned like a dork, I winked and made a kissy face, Tenten stuck out her tongue, and Hinata did peace sign, and smiled, shyly again. When the picture was taken she flicked it open to know how it turned out. Okay, hold on, I accidentally clicked out of my pictures, so now I have to find it again. She laughed sheepishly. But, she stopped flicking through her pictures, and stared at one. I guess it was the one she just took. Let me see it. I cried, and went behind her, we all did. But when I saw the picture I gasped. Oh crap. I thought. Flashback. Hinata began. We're getting it for you, whether you like it or not. I declared. Ino clicked a picture with her cell phone, of Hinata and the dress she was going to wear to the festival. And if you don't wear it, then I'll show everyone this picture of you. Ino told her, smiling. Hinata knew she couldn't say no. So we bought it and moved to another store. Then flashback. The picture we were looking at was the one that Hinata wore. Hinata went pale, Tenten, sweat dropped, and I tried to change the subject. But it didn't work. Guys, I don't remember taking this picture, and the dress looks like something we would make her wear. And we are all there, Tenten is in the background, with you Sakura. And we're in the mall. I remember that store. What were we going to do? What happened? She asked as click phone shut softly. Well, you see Tenten tried to begin, but her voice trailed off. We don't know, I admitted. She nodded and went back to the bed, and lied down. Guys, are you trying to tell me, I don't remember anything? She asked quietly as she stared at the ceiling. I'm sorry, Ino. I said after a moment of silence. Yes. That's all it took. Then please go, I want to be alone for a bit, she said, her voice trailing off. Okay, Ino, tell us if you need anything. I told her, she nodded as we left. Brilliant, she knows. Tenten cried out. I looked down at my moving feet. Let's just hope Sonata knows what to do now. I really did hope, I really did. You better be happy, I woke up at 6 AM so I could finish this chapter for you. And I'm still tired. Review please. Choices for life. Wow, is it really the end of September already? I'm so sorry for not updating. Too much freaking homework. But I swear, I'll try and update faster, you're probably thinking. Yeah, that's what the ALLL say. Well, I will seriously try. On with the chap. Naruto. We knew what to do, another mission. Except only with a few rookie 12 members. That was fine. But I was torn between helping Ino by doing the mission, or comforting her by staying here with her. But I didn't get a choice, Sonata picked the people out. Okay, I want a couple of you to go on a mission. She looked down at her desk, concentration clear in her eyes. I suppose she was thinking of who to put on the mission. Okay, I want Niji Hyuga, Shino Bruma, Kiba Inizuka, Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno, and Chaoji to go on this mission. This was weird, there were so many people on this mission. Why? A team of 3 were enough most of the time. But even if it took 1,000,000 people, I would get Ino better, you could bet on it. Lady Sonata, why are there so many people? Shino said, man, it's like he can read minds. Let me explain. First you need to tell Sakura everything, got it, everything. She instructed, with a forceful voice. We nodded as our response. Okay, she continued, you are all going to the sand. Gara should have a page there. I tore it out of the book. And I believe it can make her better. I breathed a huge sigh of relief. But there's a catch, I held my breath. What now? She is sick, she said the word sick as if that wasn't the right meaning. But I didn't take much notice to that, I needed to know what was wrong with Ino. What I think she is sick from could kill her. Kill her, oh no, please anyone but her. I could feel my pulse, it was beating way too fast, my chest was going to explode from the agonizing pain and sadness. But, she can be saved with what is on that page, I don't know how much time she has. So I need all of you to go to the sand now. And when you get there find that page as quickly as possible. Wait a moment, I thought you said Gara had the page. Why are you saying we need to find it? Niji asked, creasing his forehead. His father might have hid it back when he was Kazekage. So that's why I have you. Niji, Shino and Kiba on this mission. Yukekai Genkai and clan abilities are very useful in this mission. I was gonna ask why Sakura, Chaoji, and I had to go. But she answered before I could speak. Naruto, Sakura, and Chaoji are going because, she sighed and closed her eyes. Well, you three need to take your minds off Ino and Shikamaru, she added. She opened her eyes again. Now the remainder of you need to keep Ino as busy as possible, don't let her have a dull moment, and if she goes through these changes again, then tell me immediately. Let her sleep when she needs to, but no daytime naps. And try to get her remember as much as possible. We were about to go, but Sonata said something that caught all of our attention. If Ino isn't sick of what I think she's sick with, and I give her the treatment, she will die from it. Sonata said, glaring holes into the bookshelf where the book was supposed to be. What? Chaoji cried out. Sorry, it's true. Sonata said gruffly. So wait, if Ino is sick with something else, and you treat her with the spooky amnesia stuff, she'll... Yes. Die, she said for me. We all were wide-eyed. She turned her head to glare at us now. Go on now. Get a move on. And tell the girls everything. She barked at us. And so we did. We ran into the girls on the way out of the Hokage Tower. We filled them in on everything, beginning, middle and end and possible future for Ino. We went to get our stuff together for our mission, and the others went to find Ino. As we were going to leave, I thought something. Ino, I will come back with that page, it could kill you or save you. I don't know what type of sickness you have, but I will come back with that page. That's my way of the ninja, I never take back my word. We left, in silence, heading towards the home of the Sand siblings. Oh yeah. The Sand sibs are gonna come in. Again, sorry for not updating. But I did update in the end. I did. Please review. Searching. Raise your hand if you're mad at me for not updating. TT. Sorry, I really am. But I have an excuse. My baby sis was born on Sunday D. Here's the chap. Naruto. Why didn't I think? I should have changed before I came here. It's too hot. We were about an hour away from the Sand Village. We had been running top speed for the whole journey, and it, like I said, is hot. It's to be expected, I mean duh, it's the desert. But I should have changed into a change of clothes before I came. 1 hour later. I can see it now. Sakura said dully. She hadn't talked the whole time we were running. It was very un-Sakura-like. Come to think of it, no one did talk. Chaoji was thinking about both his teammates. Sakura was thinking about Ino, Niji was just being Niji and not talking to any type of life on the planet, Shino was being Shino, by doing exactly what Niji does, and as for Kiba, I think he didn't want to make Sakura mad at him, by saying anything. Akamaru didn't say or bark anything either. And for me, I was thinking about Ino. It's still hard to think of Ino, and to think of her life having a 50-50 chance. As much as I could daydream about her all day when she was healthy, and I first began to get feelings for her, I couldn't now. I didn't want to, but I did want to think of the healthy Ino. It was hard, and the sooner we got this mission done the better. As we approached the Sand Village, Kankura was waiting for us. Hey, I'm supposed to take you to the Kazekage immediately. He sounded normal, like the depressing news wasn't real. I wish I could act like that. We walked to the Kazekage Tower. I looked around a bit, trying to find a loose scrap of paper somewhere. All I saw was paper in garbage cans. Okay, well here's his office. He started to walk away when he froze, and turned around, he looked grim. Do me and yourselves a favor, do not tell Tamari of Shikamaru's condition. He looked like his life depended on this information. I knew Tamari could get mad, but did her anger issues have to do with Shikamaru? Oh yeah, I forgot she liked him. Sakura mumbled from behind me. She what, I yelled. This was new, since when? How? I thought she hated men, and Shikamaru hated most women. Sakura shook her head, rubbing her temples. You always have to act like an idiot, she's liked him ever since the Chunin exams. Sakura explained. She was irritated. Hey, I'm sorry. I don't know girls' feelings and hormones. I yelled. The next thing I felt was a hard rock on my head. Except the rock was Sakura's hand. "Ow, Sakura," I yelled at her. She always did this to me. It was annoying. "Come in," came a stoic voice from the door. Gar had opened the door while I was yelling. "We didn't notice at all." "Ga, why me?" "Kazuki-ichi, we are very sorry for the disturbance. Naruto here was being a pest." Shino explained, "Not very well if you ask me." "What? Sakura hit me first," I complained. It was true, she didn't have to hit me. "Yeah, but you Sakura started." But Gar put his hand up and motioned for us to go in. We obeyed without another word. As we all got inside the large office, I prepared myself for the worst. Gar sat at his desk, his gourd resting in the corner. "I understand your friend is sick and that we have the cure," Gar began in his gruff voice. We nodded. "Well, we don't have it," Gar said, not even a flicker of emotion on his face. How could he be so calm? Ino's life depended on this. "But I have an idea where it could be," he said. He took out a map and carefully put it on his desk. It looked old and very antique. "I suggest you look here," he said, pointing to an area that had faded considerably, but you could read it if you looked at it carefully and closely. "This is where my father usually spent his free time. He might have hid it somewhere here. But there's a possibility it could be here in the tower. I suggest you split up and look." The area he pointed to was an area that looked like a park. Well, it could have been a training field from the angle I was looking at this map. But there were no buildings, so it was obviously some place with open land. "Alright everyone," Niji began. "I say that Naruto, Sakura and Shino should go to that field Gara pointed to on the map. I also say in Chaoji, Kiba and I stay here and look." We nodded. "Wait, why can't I be with Shino? We work pretty well together," Kiba asked. "Because Shino can scout the area with his bugs, and Sakura can pound and break the earth to see if the book is hidden underground." Niji glanced at Gar. Gar gave a stiff nod. That probably meant he didn't care if there were huge indents of rock and sand wherever we were going. "And Naruto can use Rasengan. Plus I don't see a need for Naruto here," Niji said plainly. I was going to answer back to that harsh comment, but Niji continued. "I can use my Byakugan here, and Chaoji can grab things in high places with his arm extension technique. And as for you Kiba, you can find something that belonged to the Gar's father, and then find a scent that matches here. Okay, I didn't ask for a reason why you put everyone where you did. I just asked why you split us up." "Geez," he huffed. "And why are we split? I should get a better scent outside. Even with no rain here, I would get a better scent out there than in here," Kiba continued. "Where you're going is a graveyard," Gar said behind us. That scared the crap out of me. I forgot he was there. "Gar, you shouldn't sneak up on us like that," I exclaimed. "Really, did the guy always have to be silent in the creepy way?" He shrugged. "The graveyard?" Sakura asked. "Oh, okay, I get why I'm here now. I can't smell much in a graveyard. Considering all the decaying bodies in the dirt, and how frequently people come in and out of there to see their friends' graves," Kiba explained. "Ooh Niji, do you remember that mission from when we were Genin after the Chunin exams? The one with the ghosts?" I asked. I was referring to the one in the land of birds, where there was a man disguised as a big fat guy, and there were 3 people pretending to be the ghost. We were with Tenten and Lee. He nodded stiffly. "Well, you see I'm still kinda afraid of ghosts." "You going?" He said sternly. "No way am I going. I am not," I cried. "Yes. You have to." "Why?" "Sonata didn't make anyone leader of the mission," I argued back. "Because you aren't needed here," he said stiffly. "I can find something to do." I half yelled, half screamed at him. "Listen to me carefully." "No." He was getting more and more ticked off at me with every passing comment. "Why not? We need equal teams, so we can get to Ino faster," he cried at me. I stopped. He had to bring Ino up. I had finally gotten her out of my head. But he was right. As much as I hated it, he was right. "Fine," I said grumpily. He nodded. "Good. Now let's go." So that was that. We left a little later when Gar gave us directions. Kankura was going to help Nichi's team because he knew the tower better than us Leafnin did. Gar would help us, but being Kazuki and all, he couldn't leave his office for a bit. So Gar told us that if Tamari came back from her mission, and she was willing, cause we all know what Tamari can be like if she's unwilling and grumpy, he would send her to help us at the graveyard. "Sakura, do you believe in ghosts?" I asked. "Nope, they are a thing of legend. They don't exist," she said smiling as we ran through the hot village to the graveyard. As we ran through, I tried to get Ino out of my head. At the graveyard. A chill went down my spine. I hated graveyards. At least the ones that were people I wasn't familiar with. I mean, if my family and friends were in a graveyard, I would visit them every day. But sadly, most of the time, their name was put on a rock labeled KIA. 3 hours later. "Shino, have you found anything?" I asked again for the umpteenth time. He shook his head. He was irritated. "Sakura and I decided not to destroy the graves. We thought that would be disrespectful, and I didn't want to even be here, let alone look at moldy bodies, or crumpled ashes of dead people. So we decided to blow up the earth around the edge of the graveyard. Still no luck. 1 more hour after those 3 hours later. Bah! Where could it be? Sakura yelled out to the sky, and nearly blew me and Shino's ears out. I don't know. I punched the earth with my regular strength that wouldn't crush it. I think we should head back. My bugs can dig up a bit more while we leave, and they will catch up to me later, he told us. We nodded, sweating like pigs. As we walked out, a grave caught my attention. I didn't know why, but it seemed to pull me towards it. Naruto, come on, we're leaving. Sakura called from behind me. I hadn't realized I stopped, but I had. I'll be right there. I called over my shoulder. Huh? You were the one that didn't want to come here in the first place, she called, still walking. I'll catch up. And with that, I walked towards the grave. It said, to the woman who loved. The one who died for love. Her tragic passing was sad and horrible, but the love we feel for her has lessened none. R.I.P. Noyor. Noyor? That was a pretty name. But there wasn't a last name here. What was with that? I looked at the grave. It wasn't bigger than any of the other graves. It wasn't grander. It wasn't special, but it drew me to it somehow. I was going to research this Noyor. I walked back to the tower, hoping they had found it. Well, we had no luck. Noyor was still in my head, and somehow, it seemed to fit right in at the top of my things to do list. She seemed to fit right beneath find the page and save Ino. Maybe even tied. I didn't know why, but just thinking of her name gave me a deja vu feeling. Did I know this girl? Not a chance. Like Sakura said before, ghosts don't exist, and even though there wasn't a date on the grave, I was pretty sure it was very old. There was one thing that troubled me after I got Noyor off my mind. How many days do we have until Ino might die? Confronting a fear. Okay, thanks for the awesome reviews. And I would like you to do something for me. I want you to all yell at me in your reviews so that I'll update more quickly. It's pathetic how long I keep you guys waiting. Absolutely pathetic of me. Anyway, thanks. On with the chat. Naruto. I decided I would go to Gar after we ate our dinner, which she gave us. I was going to get to the bottom of this Noyor person. It just had been bothering me a lot. All I could think about was both Ino and Noyor. I approached the door and was about to knock when it opened. Oh, Naruto. Right. Asked a blonde Kunoichi. She looked tired and as if she really wanted to go to sleep. This was Tamari, and I was. Lucky she wasn't irritated or mad. Yeah, I'm Naruto. Is Gar in? I asked. I really didn't want to get on her bad side. She nodded. That's some rest, Tamari, Gar told her from behind. I scooted out of the doorway so she could get out of Gar's office. She looked beat and she walked sluggishly, but quickly. I think she wanted to get to bed. I went inside the office as she went down the hall. What can I do for you? Gar asked. I fidgeted. Me and Gar were pretty good comrades, but I didn't want him to get angry. You see, I found this grave, I began, and I wanted to look up who it belonged to. He nodded. He got up from his desk and went over to the bookshelf. Name? Noyor, I told him. I meant last name, he grumbled. According to the grave, she doesn't have a last name. I told him. He looked up. From the look he gave me, I could tell he didn't want to deal with anything complicated. How important is this to you? He asked. I considered and thought for a moment. Pretty important. I can't get her out of my head. I don't know why, but... He cut me off by slamming the book closed. Go to the library and give her this. He gave me a scroll that looked old and antique. Like the map. She will let you into the records of Suna. Go to records of people, look for this girl there. He instructed. I did as I was told and ran to the library, happy that Gar let me look for this random girl. At the records of people. N. Aha. N. Wow, such a miraculous thing. You found N considering your name begins with N. I ignored the fox's rude comment. I knew he had to come out sometime. He had been quiet ever since Ino got possessed. But he's back now, yay. Sarcasm. 2 hours later. I had been looking for a long time. And so far, I hadn't found a thing. I was beginning to think she had a last name, but it wasn't put on the grave. 1 more hour after those 2 hours. Hey. Get up. Ah! I screamed. I promptly fell out of my chair. I got up immediately and looked around. Apparently, I had fallen asleep. Lad, you're finally up. A soft feminine voice told me. She sounded relieved. What? I asked. I looked around again. No one was here. Please, follow me. What? Who are you? How am I supposed to follow you if I can't see you? No one is able to see me, can they? I was about to shake my head when I added all these things up. A voice coming from nowhere and a voice that said no one is able to see me. There were only 2 things to add up. But I only needed one to get the message. Ghost. Ga. Sakura. Niji. Somebody. Help. Ghost. No, wait. Please. I don't mean you any harm. Yes, you do. No, I don't. I promise. I didn't believe the thing that was talking to me. The girl ghost that was talking to me seemed innocent, but heck, I ain't taking my chances. I have been on a few missions that had to do with a ghost, and both of them were creepy. I once got eaten alive in one of those missions. Kyubi, why didn't you tell me there was a ghost here? I'm a demon, not a ghost hunter. Plus, ghosts don't have chakra, scent, or even body mass. No ninja or ninja dog could ever find it, even if it was standing right in front of them. But you're a demon. Did your thick head not hear me? Ninjas, dogs, animals, or any living thing cannot see ghosts on their own. Ghosts need to come out on their own. And that does include demons. We can't see them either. Whatever, I had enough of a lesson today. I'm getting out of here. Ghosts can let you touch, hear, and see them at their own free will. They can't do damage to living beings, but they can move you sometimes. If that ghost builds up its strength for a few years, aka kid, look around again. And I did. All I could see was dark bulks. I could see no exit. No? What do you mean by all this? It dawned on me that I had been oblivious to me and failed to see there were no ways out. I was sitting with a ghost in a place that I didn't know of. I didn't even know what this ghost was doing. The ghost took me here. How? Did it have incredible strength like Sakura? Probably not. It probably dragged me here using some freaky ghost power. I mean, ghosts are real, and this one seems to have stumbled upon you. And it took you somewhere where you can't get away. Now calm down. Why? How the heck should I do that? And why? I'm in a room with a dead person. Because, like I said before, they can't do damage, they can just move you, and only if they have saved the strength for a couple years. Are you that thick-headed? This ghost is going to communicate with you. Now, go and talk to it, so I can sleep. Wait, you're leaving me? Kyubi? Nothing answered. I was going to have to tough it out on my own. I cleared my throat. I felt very cold here. But, my throat was bone dry. Hi, ghosty. Hi. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I heard a gasp of delight. You're not frightened. You can see me. Oh, well. I spluttered. Oh, she sighed sadly. You want to go? Wait. You're sad. I asked in disbelief. Weren't ghosts supposed to be happy to capture people? Well, yes. It admitted. Oh, I answered quietly. So, why was it here? Why did it take me here? Why are you here? And more to the point, why did you take me here? I asked, more politely than intended. But I decided that was good, since she was pretty much the only one who knew the way out. I saw you today. In the graveyard. I wanted to know if you could help. It answered. Its tone was sweet and gentle. It almost sounded like a ghost of Hinata, except it was hollower and less shy. In fact, the voice sounded more nervous than shy. Can you let me see you? I asked. No, people aren't supposed to see me. Huh? But I mean people says ghosts can let living people see them willingly. I never heard of that. Are you sure? It asked. I think so. Why don't you try it? There was a pause. And then a ripple seemed to go through the air. A fuzzy shape appeared. It was light and cloudy. I could see through it, but it slowly gained more color and more form until it looked like a girl. I could still see through her, but I could at least see it her. Her face looked strained and pained, but it relaxed. She opened her eyes. Her eyes were gray. She had silver hair that went down to her mid-back. She wore a white robe. How do I look? What? I said. How do I look? What do I look like? Oh, you look pretty. You have silver hair, which goes to your back, and your eyes are gray. She nodded and smiled. Thanks. I'm guessing I can't even see myself when someone can't see me. She put her hands in front of her, as if she had just regenerated them after a long wait. Okay, so why am I here? I asked again. Oh, sorry. She said, grinning. She looked a lot more happy now. Still gentle, but happy. I am Maiko. What's your name? Oh, wait. You told me. It was Naruto, right? I nodded dumbly. I am 14.5 years old. How about you? 14. I cried. And a half. She added. Okay, well I'm 16. Why am I here? I repeated. Oh, sorry again, I keep getting off subject. She smiled and giggled. But then she looked grim. I have been following you around a bit. And from the conversation you and your friends had while you ate. You're looking for something. A medicine, if I'm right. Yeah, what about it? I asked. Well, let me start from the beginning. I died about 1,000 years ago. I died at the age of 14. My cousin was murdered. Before she died, we had promised each other to always be there for each other. Basically, we were best friends. And nobody could tear us apart. That is until she died. She was about 20. It was so long ago, I forget. I committed suicide a month later. Losing her was so painful, I didn't know why I was in the world. But instead of following her to heaven, afterlife, whatever you guys want to call it, I stayed on Earth. I stayed by her grave day and night, trying to figure out a way to be with her again. But I didn't have any luck. Eventually, I just started to explore and hope I would find her. But I never did. So what does this have to do with me? I asked. You approached her grave. She said simply. Noyor, that's your cousin. I cried. She nodded. She wasn't smiling, and she wasn't frowning. She looked emotionless, trying to avoid any pain. I'm sorry, but I don't know how to help you right now, I told her. What? You have to. I need to go where she is. I have to. She cried. I'm sorry, but I'm not dead, I said. Her body shook, and she began to cry. She didn't make a sound, but she was sobbing. I approached her slowly, and I reached out to her. My hand went through her, but then she pulled away. She became more solid looking, and she flung herself at me and cried. But I need her. She needed comfort. She obviously hadn't gotten any for a long time. As I stroked her hair and soothed her, I made a promise. Echo, I promise, I'll help you find Noyor. That's my way of the ninja, I will help you. I promise. Even if I have to stay behind when I'm dead, I'll help you. She eased her shaking a bit and turned back into her clear self, so no one could touch her. Th, thank you, she said. No problem, I responded. But she was gone. Naruto, you're in the graveyard. I'm sorry for taking you here, but I thought I might need some proof. Now go home, back to your friends, she instructed. But there are some questions I need to ask you. I tried to tell her. But no one was there. I started to walk back to the hotel we were all staying at, thinking if it was all a dream or not. A ghost came to visit me. I'm afraid of ghosts, and yet, I talked to her. I even called her in it before. It seemed to be all an illusion, but then again, I promised Aiko, and I keep my promises. No matter what. Sorry it took so long to update. Please review. They're all awesome. Twilight is awesome. XD I saw the movie. Going back. Okay, thanks for the awesome reviews. Lol, this is turning into Halloween fic. XD I didn't mean it to, but oh well. I'll try and fix that. On with the chat. Naruto. We had been in Suna for over a week and still nothing. I had. Imagined seeing Aiko, and had begun to think that she was an illusion. Kyuubi hadn't said anything since I had first seen Aiko if I saw her. We were called for a meeting in Gar's office, but we didn't know why. As we all filed in, we looked at Gar expectantly. No one said a word as Gar began to speak in his emotionless manner. You've been looking here for 11 days, you haven't found anything. You looked everywhere, and didn't leave any corner unsearched. This gives me reason to believe that we don't have it at all. We looked at him, wondering what was going to happen next. However, Tsunade thinks that you should stay here. But I think differently. We discussed this, and we think some of you should go back to Konoha and some stay here to look. He didn't seem irritated, but he didn't seem happy either. He was calm and stoic. We looked at him, who was. So who's staying? Chaoji asked. My thoughts exactly. We believe that you, Sakura, and Naruto should go. Ino's condition is worse, she's lost even more memories. I don't know how many, so don't ask. And Shikamaru still hasn't woken up from his coma. What? Someone yelled from the other side of the door, which was slammed open, and Tamari rushed in, seething. What do you mean Shikamaru still hasn't woken up from his coma? I didn't know he was in one. For how long? Why didn't you tell me? Tamari was so angry, I could see fire in her eyes. She seemed ready to kill. Yes, some mysterious power almost killed Shikamaru Nar, resulting in him being put into a coma. He then was rescued by Naruto. He gestured towards me, and Ino Yamanaka was also affected by that power. She's losing her memories, that's why. Everybody is here, they're looking for an antidote or medicine to help Ino. Gar explained. He wasn't fazed by Tamari's outburst, but everyone else was. We had scouted into a clump to the left of Gar's desk, and were now hoping she would ignore us. I will take your late mission report now, Gar added. She huffed, and marched over to his desk, slammed it on his desk, and began to yell again. I demand a mission to Konoha, now. She screeched. We don't have one now, he answered. What? She hissed. There has to be one, she cried. No, there isn't, he replied. But you. Wait a moment, Gar, what if Tamari were to escort the few who are going to Konoha back to Konoha? Chaoji piped up. He didn't seem scared of what he had just said to the Kazekage, nor the reaction his sister would get. Thankfully, it was a good reaction. She seemed ready to kiss Chaoji, and bow before him. Yes. That would work, right Gar? I mean, the Akatsuki are out there, and Rouge ninjas and stuff. And it takes a while to get from Konoha to Suna. I mean Suna and Konoha, she blurted out. Yes Samari, you may go. I didn't need your encouragement for me to make a decision, he replied coldly. The coldly was Gar, so. Whatever. He filled out a scroll, and gave it to Tamari. But she didn't leave yet. Anyway, Kiba, Shino, and Niji are staying because of their abilities. You are to get your things and meet Tamari at the gate in 45 minutes. Tamari, Sakura, Naruto, and Chaoji are dismissed. Niji. Shino and Kiba, stay so we can discuss how you are going to find this piece of paper. We left, and went straight to our rooms in the hotel we were staying at. I got my stuff together in 10 minutes. So you're leaving to be with your possessed girlfriend? Possessed? What are you talking about? Kid, did you not hear Gar? Some mysterious power. Where do you think it came from, if it didn't come from Ino? Somebody got in, they snuck in and took control of Ino's body and… Idiot. You saw it with your own eyes. There was no one else there, no extra chakra other than that powerful chakra. Not even a Sannin could produce that much energy. Yeah, but still. How it went away when I kissed her. That's got to mean something. Right. Yes, you're extremely lucky to live through kissing an angry, dangerous, possessed woman. Face the facts. Okay, so I'm lucky, but Ino can't be. Oh, and you're going to leave Aiko. She needs you. Aiko what? Oh my god. Go to the graveyard and talk to her now. She's there, I know she is. Whatever you see I see, and she wants to talk to you. What? My eyes. Why didn't I see her? You could, but you were too scared to man up and talk to her. What hey? It's true. And if you're going to leave someone who needs your help, you're going against your word and your promise. Gah. I cried out loud. There was no way to win. I got up and ran out of the hotel room. I ran all the way to the graveyard. As I slid across the dirt and I looked around wildly. And there she was lying on the grass facing up, eyes closed. The sun went right through her and there was no shadow. I gingerly approached her. Aiko. I whispered more to myself than to her. She blinked and looked at me. She slowly smiled and beamed at me. In the light she seemed to be glowing. You came, she cried. She rushed to me and bounced in front of me. Oh, I knew you would. Why didn't you answer me when you saw me before? You know, like yesterday. Oh, sorry Aiko, I was looking for that paper you see. I mumbled. Apparently the fox was right. That's okay, now what should we do first? I say go to the lake Noi or drowned in. Find a body and then I don't know, we'll have to see from there, but it's a start. She exclaimed. Wait, a lake? There are no lakes in the desert. I said. No there aren't, but she was born here, she moved with me to a land with lots of water. That's how we became best friends. We lived with each other. Anyway, she drowned in a lake that I believe is in place that you call the land of waves, she explained. Oh listen Aiko. I have to leave in about 20 minutes. I told her. I saw her face fall, and her eyes told me she was feeling her last hope being crushed. Wait. I didn't mean I couldn't help. I mean, I was hoping you could come with me. That's all. My village is closer to the land of waves than Suna is. I cried. She gasped, and her eyes went wide. She had overwhelming joy in her eyes. Really Naruto? Oh my goodness, thank you. She yelled, and began to fly around the graveyard. She reminded me of Ino a lot. That's what I liked about her. She gave me hope that Ino would live, even though she had nothing to do with Ino. So, after that I went to my hotel, and got my belongings. We went to the gate, and only I could hear, and see Aiko. And off we went, back to Konoha. Back to Ino. Back with the crisis still at hand. Disaster. Sorry for not updating man, I'm Suuliayazi. If I were a boy, I would be Shikamaru. XD. On with the chap. Naruto. I'll give in the mission report Sakura told us as we entered the village. Everyone else nodded in agreement. Sakura went towards the Hokage tower. Can someone take me to Shikamaru's room? Tamari asked. Chaoji nodded again and walked in the direction of the hospital, and I followed with Aiko following me. Aiko hadn't said much during the time we had spent going from Suna to Konoha. She looked like she was thinking very hard. I was eager to get to the hospital. I really only wanted to see Ino. Who knows how many memories she lost. I was concerned for her. I couldn't bring back the paper for her. I went against my word. I had failed, and now Ino could die. If she died I think I would too. I loved her, maybe it was only just a crush, but these feelings were stronger than the feelings I ever felt for Sakura. That's why I believe I am in love. As we entered the hospital, I noticed Hinata sitting in a chair. She looked tired and worried. This wasn't a good sign, since she was one of the members of Rookie 12 to get assigned to look after Ino. Why wasn't she with Ino? I wondered as I walked over to her. Hi Hinata. What are you doing? She looked up and then looked at her feet, and began to poke her fingers together. And then Naruto, why are you here? She murmured curiously. I got sent back from Suna. Tamari came with us. I told her while pointing over my shoulder. She looked up at where I was pointing and nodded slowly. But why are you here to see Ino? She asked quietly. I nodded. I saw a tear form in her eye as she looked up at me, but she blinked it back. Naruto Shikamaru CC came out of his coma. I smiled at that. That's great. I said, smiling broadly. That's very good news, so maybe Ino would be okay now. Since Shikamaru is a super genius, maybe he could figure out what's wrong with her. She stood up slowly, and looked at me, squaring her shoulders. Shikamaru doesn't know what is WR wrong with Ino and… I stared at her. Had something happened, I wondered. Is he okay? I asked. She nodded. He is fine, and he hasn't suffered from memory loss, but Ino. My ears perked up at this. Ino. What about Ino? What about Ino? I asked. She disappeared. Hinata whispered. I could hear Aiko gasp. That was the first noise she had made since we were in Suna. What? How? Why? When? Hinata tell me, I yelled, while grabbing her shoulders and staring at her, searching for anything in her face that might tell me anything about Ino. SHSH, she just disappeared. She disappeared about 9 days after ULL left for Sasuna. I don't know how, or WWY, SHSH Shio Naruto, I'm SSSS so sorry. Hinata stuttered, blinking back tears. I let go of her shoulders. And then I got an idea. Where's Shikamaru's room? I asked numbly. I didn't want to show the unbearable pain I was going through. Even though Hinata looked upset, it was nothing compared to the pain I was going through. Our room number 116. She answered. I ran to that room, Aiko close behind me. I slammed in, and saw Tamari, Chaoji, and of course Shikamaru. I need to talk Shikamaru privately now. Wait in line, we got here first. Tamari yelled, she looked ticked, and ready to kill anyone. I glared back, but shook my head. Fine, I'll say it now then. Shikamaru, Ino is missing, and I think you'll know where to find her. So where is she? I demanded. Shikamaru just started. Tamari had an angry mark on her temple, and Chaoji dropped his chips. What? Ino's gone. Chaoji cried. I nodded in reply. I think she would be at the flower shop, or the Hookage Mountain, an. The faces of the past Hookages, no clue what to call them, or the mall, or, at Sakura's. Tamari, Chaoji, can you leave, we can talk later. Shikamaru told them. Tamari was about to protest, but stopped when she saw Shikamaru give him a meaningful look. She sighed, sent me a glare, and then left with Chaoji. Yes, I think I would know where she is. Shikamaru said when he was sure Tamari and Chaoji couldn't hear him. Really? Where? I asked desperately. Keep your voice down. Shikamaru groaned. I heard from Chaoji before you came in, you were looking for a book. I nodded. He sighed heavily. I took the book. I was going to return it, but then I got into a coma. It's hard to do anything except breath when you're in a coma. Anyway, I saw a picture of a lake, and it's the same lake Ino fell into, so I began reading it, and the description in that book matches Ino's perfectly. Remember when I told you Ino doesn't like you? I nodded stiffly. Yeah, sorry about that. But in the book, it says that whoever falls into the lake will get reincarnated into a girl who was drowned in that lake by her lover, I forget her name, and they will start to crave power. You have power. He told me, glancing towards the Kyuubi seal. I nodded, taking mental notes of this, only vaguely aware of Aiko behind me. Now it didn't say this part, but what if those changes Ino's been going through are part of her reincarnating? He said. I stiffened. It all fit. Ino getting possessed, darn Fox had to be right, didn't he? The changes, the sudden crush, but does that mean she doesn't love me? Does that mean it was all fake? And she doesn't care? How could Ino do this? Why? I could feel agonizing pain in my chest, unbearable pain. I bowed my head and began to silently cry. Does Ino like me? I whispered. There was silence. I don't know. But that doesn't matter, right now you have to save Ino. Shikamaru told me. Save her? How can I? I don't know where she is. I could barely talk without stuttering. I was in emotional pain. I could get rejected by her. And Ino was nowhere to be found. My life had just crashed down all around me. She's going to the lake. That's my best bet. The incarnation Ino probably took control and took her there. I don't know why, maybe it was to get rid of the rest of her memories. I don't know. I nodded. There's one more thing. Ino lost a lot of memories while you were gone. The girls told me when I came out of my coma, she remembers falling into the lake, and that's it. She doesn't remember falling in love with you, or anything. So you and her, he trailed off. So basically, I have to save the girl, who thinks I'm an idiot, because that's what she thought of me before, and she doesn't know she's being incarnated into a monster, and I have to rescue her from what exactly? She can save herself. It's just a lake after all. I felt miserable. Ino was everything. I couldn't imagine living in a world without her. But I was being forced to right now. I just wanted to go to bed and sob. Shikamaru sighed. You're saving her from being reincarnated. Look, I think once she goes in that lake, the incarnation will be complete. You have to stop her. And if you can, get the spirit out of her. I stayed silent for a bit. Shikamaru was right. I didn't get that paper that I promised Ino I would get her. So, I would have to make up for that. You can do this, Naruto, you're amazing, and she needs you. Aiko whispered in my ear. I nodded. Are you coming with me? I asked them. Even though, Shikamaru didn't know Aiko was even there. Yes, Aiko said. I can't, I'm not allowed to leave the hospital. Shikamaru told me. Okay, where do I have to go? I asked. It's very close to the Land of Waves. In fact, it's at the border of the Land of Waves. You can go to my house and get the book, it should be under my pillow. If not, check the bookshelf, my mom might have done some cleaning while I was in my coma. Okay. Thank you, Shikamaru. I said. And I ran out. At Shikamaru's house. Thanks for letting me look. I said, smiling. Oh, that's fine, take your time. She answered, smiling. And she walked down the hall. I looked under the pillow and there it was. Oh, I found it already, so I'll see you around. I called down the hall. Oh, going already? Okay, well goodbye. She called to me, but by that time I was already out the window. I went home and packed my stuff, and then went to the Hokage's office. Tsunade, I would like permission to go look for Ino. I told her. I had to ask, or else I would become a missing nin. I wouldn't want that. But I was pretty anxious, because I wanted Tsunade to say yes, and fast. I was tight on time. Tsunade looked at me. She sighed, Naruto, it's not very likely you'll be able to find her, she's been gone for a while. I think I know where she is. I blurted out. And I promise to come back if I can't find her where I think she is. I blurted out without thinking. Tsunade nodded slowly. I give you permission. Now go. Thank you. I called as I raced down the hallway. I ran through the village, and through the gates. The first hour or so of our journey to the land of waves was pretty quiet. Naruto Aiko said softly. Yeah. I answered. You know when you asked that guy at the hospital if Ino still liked you? Yeah. I said stiffly. I wouldn't worry. If you truly love someone, then no force can ever make them lose their love. She'll always love you. Always and forever. Aiko said smiling. You're just a kid, I murmured. I look like I'm 12, yes. So physically, I'm 12. But mentally, I'm over 1,000 years old. I know love, I've seen children getting crushes, and having puppy love, only for it to change a week later to another person. She smiled a little. I've seen people's first kiss. I've seen people get engaged. I've seen people's weddings. I've seen them get the news they are going to have a child. I've seen the mother and father holding their newborn baby, smiling and crying with happiness. I've seen people go visit graves of their loved ones. She had a small sad smile on her face. Trust me, I know what love is. Know that I thought of it. She would. How would you spend your never-ending afterlife? So you spend your time watching people? I asked. Yepers. I used to watch in case I saw anything that had to do with Noyor. But then it became a habit, and then a hobby. I mean, I don't like scaring people like some ghosts do. What? I asked. What you mean what? Oh, you mean the last part. Well, ghosts have to spend their time somehow. So they use their precious energy to scare people. She told me, as if she was teaching a child. It must be dull being a ghost. I commented. You get used to. Plus, you get to go to weddings for free. She said laughing. I smiled at her childish antics. For a 10-12-year-old, she was perky and happy. Well, if I had to guess, I think there are going to be about 2 more chapters. Then this story is done. I'm gonna miss it. TT. You? Yeah, says the girl who doesn't even update it. Me? I'm sorry. Review please. Thank you D. Saved. Ino? Even though I knew Shikamaru and Chaoji were already at the border, and that I would get told off by them for not being there, and for completely flunking the mission, I somehow didn't care at all, and just kept on walking at my leisurely pace. I just kept thinking that my life was more important right now, and I knew that was wrong. Ninjas should always be able to put their life on the line, no matter what. So why should I be worried about my personal life problems on a mission? Easy, because I felt like a huge chunk of it was missing. When I thought of Sasuke like I normally did, I felt nothing. Absolutely nothing. Well, not true, I felt gratitude and friendship. But why do I feel thankful towards him? What did he do other than turn down my love for him? Maybe he was going to save my life. That would be amazing. I could feel the smile. Wait a moment, I don't feel a smile. I still have this calm expression on my face. Wow, that's new. I thought of many people and seemed to come with different things for all of them. Shikamaru. I was defiantly worried about him, but why? He can take care of himself easily against any attack that was happening at the border. Chaoji. Well, pretty much the same, except for I don't really know. I guess I can relate to him. I don't know how, I just can. Kiba. Same. Shino. Same. Hinata. Almost the same. Friendship and jealousy. What on earth? Niji. Same, total hunk, but nothing compared to Nar Sasuke, another what on earth thing. Tenten. Friendship, aka same. Rockley. Same, totally creeped out by the eyebrows, but great ninja. Weird love life though. Sakura. Best friend. Same. Sasuke. Already went through that. Naruto. I came up with a blank for Naruto. I felt friendly towards him. Well, not friendly, something stronger. Again, why? I am bubbling over with questions today. Nothing seems to make sense. It must be from the checkup. And the weird deja vu feelings I've been getting lately. I'm sure once I reach the border I'll be fine. I'll see Shikamaru and Chaoji. They must be so mad. I had to start out late just because I fainted, just like Hinata. But I will get there. Eventually. I picked up my pace a little, but I was in no hurry for some reason. I just felt like walking. Walking is very nice. Relaxing and calming. And then I saw a lake. It was green and slimy. But undoubtedly it was a lake. Naruto. I had been running after Ino non-stop for the past 2 days. So 11 days after Ino went missing. I hoped so much she was alright. I briefly wondered why no one had gone after her sooner, but pushed that thought away and kept going. I was going pretty fast, faster than my usual speed. I was glad I could go faster, but it never seemed fast enough. No matter how much I pushed myself to go faster, I couldn't get fast enough. If it weren't for Aiko telling me to slow down, I probably would have passed out from exhaustion. But all my speed paid off when I saw Ino. She was walking towards the lake with a curious expression on her face. "Ino?" I called out. She spun around. For a moment, I thought I saw relief on her face, but then it turned back to curiosity. Did she forget something else? Like my name? Or worse, who I am altogether? "Ino, it's me, Naruto," I told her while jumping down from the tree I was in. She just rolled her eyes. "Yes, idiot, you Naruto, and I'm Ino. Anyone else you want introduce?" she asked sarcastically. That hurt, but at least she remembered me. That was a huge relief to me. "Tell me where Shikamaru and Chaoji are," she told me, eyeing me. I frowned in confusion, but soon realized C didn't remember finishing the mission where they fought at the border, and Ino fell in the lake. "Ino, come over here now," I told her. I had thought this through on the way here. I wouldn't approach her, in case the spirit in her was in control, and decided to jump in the lake and finish off what was left of the real Ino. "Not until you tell me where my team is," she huffed. I couldn't tell her that they were in Konoha, she would think I wasn't the real Naruto. And I could lie to her, because if she figured out I was lying, she definitely wouldn't trust me. But I didn't have much choice lying as Shelby. "They're heading back. The mission was so simple they didn't need your help," I said, smiling. I was putting so much effort, but she still didn't trust me. She stared at me, analyzing the new information I gave her. I took this opportunity to start to walk towards her. She came out of her thoughts when I was a yard or two in front of her. She abruptly started walking backwards towards the lake. Not thinking properly, I ran towards her. I had to catch her before she fell into that lake. But when I was directly in front of her, she began to fall backwards. It seemed too slow to be real. Her foot slid on the slippery mud, she stumbled back into the water, and she fell back, as I leaned forward to grab her. We tumbled into the lake together. I felt it was all over. Ino was now gone. Only a body remained, and even that would not be Ino soon enough. Every part of the woman I loved was gone. Hoping to keep her with me, to not lose her ever, I held onto her tightly. Crying tears no one could see because of all the water we were in. I didn't know how long we spent in there, and it didn't seem to matter anymore anyway. That was until something happened. Ino kissed me, and wrapped her arms around me, as we floated to the surface. Aiko. I decided to stay behind Naruto. In case this evil spirit of Ino could see me. I felt safe with him, well safer. I knew there were plenty of dangers out there. I could feel Naruto's pain. Well, not literally, but I could picture it pretty clearly. I winced, not wanting anyone to go through that. I followed Naruto into the lake, trying to give him hope and courage to get through his heartbreak. But I looked at the girl instead. Instead of seeing a nasty monster as Naruto had said she would be, I saw the best side I had ever seen. My 20-year-old cousin, being hugged by Naruto. "Noyor," I whispered. She didn't move. "Noyor," I called out. She stirred, but did not move her from his grasp. "Noyor," I screamed out to her, and quickly went to her, and tugged at her hand. That's when I realized this was not my cousin, but a girl who looked almost exactly like my cousin. I felt a tear on my cheek side down, despite the water around me. I tugged on her hand again, but instead of her hand moving, another one seemed to slide out. It was pale, and practically see-through. I pulled some more, and a wrist came out. I kept pulling until one half of the real Noyor's came out. The real Noyor. My beloved cousin. I felt like crying out in joy as I tugged and pulled the rest of her free from the body. Noyor looked at me for several moments. She looked dazed and confused. But when she spotted Ino and Naruto kissing, she turned and looked at me. "Aiko, what are you doing here? We promised never to leave each other. That nothing would separate us. I stayed behind to find you," I told her, smiling through my tears of joy. I had finally found my cousin. The one I had waited 1,000 years for. Her confused face turned into a smile of warmth and thankfulness. "I'm sorry you had to wait for me. Thank you for honoring our promise," she said to me as we walked together hand in hand into the dazzling light. "Naruto." When I felt my back bob on the cold surface of the water, I immediately came to my senses and dragged Ino out of the water. I thought I had a stranger for a moment because what I saw in front of me was Ino, with regular blonde hair. I was stunned, and as she fluttered her eyes open, I saw she had her beautiful blue eyes back. "Naruto," she stated. "Naruto." She cried out again, and tackled me in a bear hug. "Ino," I said to her, and just embraced her back. We could have stayed like that for hours. Days even. But we both knew we had to get back. Eventually we did. And we talked. "Ino, I have a question," I told her. "Go on ahead," she said, smiling at me. "You know how you were possessed?" I muttered. She stiffened slightly and stopped walking. "Yes," she answered. "Did you only love me because you have my power?" I asked, gesturing down to the Kyuubi seal. She looked puzzled for a moment. Honestly? She asked. Yes, honestly. I answered. Okay. I could have fallen more in love with Sasuke. He had power, he had the curse seal. But you have more. But I'm still in love with you now. I think I would have fallen in love with you anyway. No, or it just speeded up the process. She said, smiling at me shyly. I was stunned. A couple things clicked in my head. The reason why Aiko wasn't here was because she found her cousin, who was the spirit that possessed Ino. Second, one of Sasuke's fangirls, one of the more hardcore ones at that, fell in love with me. And third, me and Ino were a couple. I scooped Ino up in my arms, and kissed her, and walked forward to Konoha. Towards our home, and a new happy future. Wow. One more chapter and this is over. The next chap will be an epilogue, and then I'm done. Amazing. Well, if anyone is still reading this story since I haven't updated since forever, please review. Epilogue. And now the epilogue. 7 months later, Ino. Wow, Hinata, congratulations. I told her happily. I was grinning like a maniac. Thanks, Ino. I guess it was TT technically thanks to you and Naruto, Hinata said, blushing. As Kiba chuckled next to her and put his arm around her waist, kissing her cheek. I proposed a toast to Hinata and Kiba. Tenten cried out, we all lifted our drinks and toasted them. Lucky 12 had gathered at a new cafe that Sakura's parents had opened. No one knows why Sakura's parents suddenly decided to open a cafe, not even Sakura. But they just did. Kiba and Hinata had decided, more like Kiba decided, to tell everyone that him and Hinata were now officially dating. But I'm getting ahead of myself. When Naruto and I walked into the village, he immediately took me to the hospital. Both Sakura and Tsunade gave me a checkup, and I had to answer a lot of questions, like do I remember everything, how do I feel, prove you're the real Ino by doing your clan ability, mind possession jutsu. And I answered all of them correctly, and I was let go. I didn't leave though. I next visited Shikamaru, and apologized for almost killing him. He said it was okay, and told me not to do it again. As if I would want to. But I just told him I wouldn't if he didn't try to split me and Naruto up. As I was leaving the hospital, I saw Tamari signing in to go to Shikamaru's room. And even though 7 months have passed, and Tamari has gone back to Suna, everyone knows they like each other, and are dating. Even though they haven't admitted it yet. Sakura and Sasuke sort of got together. They both deny it, but Sakura blushes every time someone brings up the subject of Sasuke and her dating, which I do a lot now just to see her reaction. And I could have sworn that one time I saw Sasuke and a girl with short pink hair making out in an alleyway. I would have confirmed it was Sakura and Sasuke, if Sasuke hadn't disappeared in a puff of smoke and taken the pink-haired person somewhere. And because me and Naruto are now a couple, I hooked Hinata up with Kiba, accidentally. At first she went out with Kiba so she could get over Naruto, but eventually it turned into love. And I will add she was very nice to me during the time she was getting over Naruto. Instead of breaking off our friendship like me and Sakura had done with Sasuke, she said she was happy for me. Isn't she the sweetest? Ino, what are you thinking about? Chaoji asked. Your eyes glazed over, you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I was just thinking about the past few months is all. I told him truthfully, as I sunk back into my thoughts. And as for me, someone might ask. Well, I don't think Noi-Ora had ill intentions. I just think she was really confused. I mean, yeah, she almost killed my best friend, but she didn't. And she was trying to protect me. And even though she was trying to take over my body, I don't think she had much control over that. Even though she erased my memories, oh well, maybe I'm just confused. But it doesn't matter. Not now anyway. Hey Hinata. Maybe we could double date sometime. I exclaimed. Out of the corner of my eye I saw Naruto and Kiba look at each other. That W would be great. What do you T2 think? She asked, gesturing to Kiba and Naruto. Okay, that sounds cool, Kiba said, shrugging. Yeah. And we can go to Ichiraku's ramen. I giggled when Naruto said this. I forgot something very, very important. I got the perfect boyfriend out of all this. Naruto Uzumaki. Wow, it's over. Amazing. To the kind people who reviewed, thank you so much. Thank you for reading this story, and thank you so much if you stayed and read it through until the end. Bye. D.